Welcome to the Smark Foundation podcast. I'm Aaron. This is Adam.
Oh, hi, Marks. How's it going, guys?
And this week we are here to cover, as usual, all the good AEW and WWE wrestling from the past week. We hope you enjoyed our watch along last week. It was a lot of fun doing it. I'm sure we will be doing more. There's a lot of Sunday pay-per-views coming up.
Yeah, it's weird. Like last year, there were hardly any. It seemed.
Right.
And this upcoming schedule seems like there's not like a ton, but like far closer to what we usually had with pay-per-views back in like, you know, really honestly the days before AEW, because they started doing Saturday pay-per-views to avoid having to run the same days that WWE ran their shows. And then Nick Khan took over, and he's like, you know what? We can do some Saturday shows. Like I think they started off with the 2-day WrestleMania. They're like, oh well, people will tune in on us and pay us money on a Saturday. Fancy that. So
Yeah.
I think they just took that to the next logical conclusion. And I mean, you know how competitive they are too. So
Yeah.
they're,
Well, I
they're
was
gonna
looking at the
try.
schedule.
They're gonna make it tricky.
I was looking at the schedule today, and it's like WrestleMania is 2 days. That's going to be the 19th and 20th of April. But then, April 6th, I think, is a Sunday, if I'm not mistaken. And that, no, wait, April. Yeah, April 6th is a Sunday. That is Dynasty is April 6th, Sunday.
Okay.
And then May 25th, Sunday, Double or Nothing. So like the next two AEW and WrestleMania, which is the next, effectively, I think the next WWE pay-per-view at this point. All three are Sunday nights. Also,
WrestleMania
WrestleMania is 2 nights.
I mean, there's an asterisk there because it's a 2-night thing.
Yeah.
So it would have been on a Sunday regardless.
Yeah.
Because it would also have been on a Saturday.
Yeah. But yeah, AEW strangely not running any Saturday pay-per-views like in the next few, it looks like. So kind of weird for them. I kind of like Saturday AEW pay-per-views was kind of the thing for a minute there.
I loved the fact that they ran Saturdays.
Me too.
I mean, and that was before we started this podcast, and it just became more convenient. But it was just more convenient because it's like, oh wow, this is great. I don't have to like my kid has school. I don't have to stay up into the wee hours if I don't want to, or whatever. If I want to get my kid on the bus the next day, or I mean, then if you happen to have a weekend off too, like I work retail, so like my hours are whenever they schedule me. I don't have like a normal 9 to 5 Monday through Friday thing. But I imagine that for Monday to Friday, quote unquote normal job types, the fact that you could have one on a Saturday and then get to be able to talk about it on Sunday at your own leisure while you're watching the football game with your buddies the next day, or must be instead of maybe having to wait because they don't work with you the next day. I imagine that was kind of a novelty.
It was definitely nice to be able to like stay up and watch a pay-per-view and not worry about immediately going to bed afterwards, letting it sink in, rewatching matches if I want to. All that stuff. Yeah, I mean, I stay up late anyway because I don't go to bed. I don't go to work till like 1 p.m.
I stay up too late too. It's
been
affecting me poorly.
I mean, I just when I have work the next day, I don't want to go back and relive any of the stuff right away. I want to just like let it go and then I'll sleep on it or whatever. But because wrestling, like it's such an emotional thing sometimes, especially like Revolution was a good example of that, where it was like so emotionally hard hitting, like in that middle part, that by the end of it, I was worn the fuck out. I just
say what you will about Dave Meltzer, and you can say a lot of things, but him rating those 3 matches right in a row, the women's title match, the international title match, and then the cage match, boom, 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 5 stars, 5 stars, 5 stars, was absolutely the right call.
Oh, I've never agreed with him more. Yeah, 100%. Yeah, I've never agreed with him more.
Like
I
it
hate
was,
Dave, and I've never agreed with him more. Not ever.
uh,
Like I generally just don't agree with him on anything. Like I always feel like he rates WWE matches too low, and I feel like he rated AEW matches too high. But all three of those, I was like, that's a 5-star. Oh, that's a 5-star too. Oh shit, 3 in a row.
yeah.
Man, the
How
main
are we
event, like
so blessed?
when that third one,
And
when that third one came in, I was
and
like, the main event's gonna be terrible.
yeah, I mean there was no way on. I mean, you know what it reminded me of? It reminded of me of when we went to WrestleMania.
Yeah,
Nothing was going to be able to follow Undertaker and Shawn Michaels.
not anything, and I don't
Nothing
remember
was.
what did, to be honest with you.
It was the world title match. It actually had a hot feud with Triple H and Randy Orton. That was the home invasion angle,
Oh
and
yeah,
where he what was he RKO'd Stephanie and then kissed her and then like whoa, and I
yeah.
think he punted Vince at that point
That might,
too.
yeah, man. That was
Like
a hot feud too, and I just,
that was a hot feud and a stinker of a main
if
event
you ask me what
match.
happens at what happened at WrestleMania 25, my memories are literally we had a really what could have been a really great women's battle royal that was completely ruined by Kid Rock because we didn't
Yeah.
get any of like I know on TV those people were getting nameplates and they were getting told who everybody that was coming in was, so they knew who all the legends were and everything. But for
Yeah.
those of us sitting in the stands, y'all, for anybody who wasn't at WrestleMania 25 live attending that, Kid Rock being on stage and singing completely precluded and preempted any kind of ring announcement. So we had no idea who was in the ring unless we
Well,
could
you have
see
to
them
remember
directly.
that was calculated. I'm I'm absolutely 100% positive that was calculated. Because if you remember who won
Santina
that
won. Yeah,
match?
Santina won, which that ruined it too.
You couldn't think about it. You would not be able to have if that was the way they were going. If they were going to have Santina win, couldn't announce her. Couldn't announce Santina Marella.
Okay.
The whole point of it was Santino was dressed up like his lesbian sister and hid in the match with this that sea of people and took advantage and camouflaged himself until the very end until enough women had been thrown out. We're like, wait a minute, who's
Who's
that?
that? Yeah.
Oh no, it's Santina and it's
Oh,
Santino in a wig.
yeah. As soon
And
as
then there was
oh,
the win. You can't pull off that surprise, ill-advised as it was. If that's the plan they were going to go with, how could you make an announcement for them ahead of time? The
okay,
whole
so
point was the surprise of it.
I get that. Okay. Maybe I think maybe my beef in that is just with Kid Rock.
Yeah, Kid Rock
But
sucks.
I mean, yeah, you agree that was terrible, right? Like it was a
Oh, it
terrible
was
live
awful.
performance. I've only
It
seen
was.
Kid. Ugh.
I try not to take bathroom breaks during live shows that I'm attending because I have major FOMO. I'm like, okay, like I know because I know the minute that I go to the bathroom, even if it's for whatever reason not tied up in a line that's going to take forever, even if I'm in and out of there, I know in my soul that that's the moment where something is going to happen that I'm going to regret missing.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's irrational, it's completely illogical, but that's my
Trust that timing.
neurosis. That's my anxiety speaking. I definitely should have left to go to the bathroom at that point.
Yeah, that should have been the bathroom
It
break for sure.
should
But
have been. If I had known what was going to happen, I absolutely 100% would have gone to the bathroom and not worried about it.
all I know is that one day in 2009 or so, it was 2009, right? Yeah. One day in
Yeah.
2009,
Yeah.
I paid WWE something like $500 to watch a wrestling show. And then I got kidnapped for 15 minutes and drug into a Kid Rock concert against my will.
Yeah, that sucked.
And because of it, I didn't know who was in the match. And later going back and watching the television version of it, seeing who all was in that match and how excited I could have been. Now I completely get the logic of having
Yeah.
a performer and not announcing Santina Morella. I I get that. I 100% understand that. But there were so many other like cool like women's legends who hadn't competed in so long who were in that match that I'm like, man, we really were deprived of like just some really cool
Mm.
nostalgia that WrestleMania is usually known for.
Yeah.
Um, uh,
I
but
mean, X7 has the gimmick battle royal, and that's one of the most fun things on that card. That's an all timer of a card. Like,
yeah, yeah. But other than
so
that women's match, you can ask me what happened in that card, and I will tell you Shawn Michaels and Undertaker took place during that card. It's the greatest WrestleMania match of all time, bar none. And if that's all I remember forever about that card, that'll be enough for me. Because what I really remember about WrestleMania 25 is the surrounding events. Um, and I think that's probably what
uh
matters the most. Like,
we did get to see Ricky Steamboat though.
that's true.
That and he looked like he hadn't aged a day in
I
that
don't think
ring.
he does age. Like he
Like
must be a vampire or something.
I was I mean, his tag team partners were was it? I think it was Snuka, who couldn't even do a top rope splash,
No, and then another
and
legend,
Roddy
Piper.
Piper, who was
Yeah,
I love Roddy Piper, but he was busted at that point.
dude,
And
all
then
the
you get
legends we saw except for Steamboat that weekend
and
were kind of
Steamboat.
busted.
You know, we kind of expected once the other two got eliminated, and Steamboat finally got in there. We're like, okay, well, we're prepared for this to kind of suck, and then it was awesome.
Yeah,
And he was awesome. He looked like he had never left a ring.
no,
And then we saw him again the next night on Raw, and it was great.
That Raw was
It
really
was
fun.
like
I remember that one. That's Batista returned at that
Batista
Raw, right?
returned. That was the
Yeah.
big.
Okay.
That was the
So
big
see,
return.
I
at
remember the
end.
Raw too. I remember the ROH show really well, and like the surrounding
Mm.
events of that. I remember like we went to when Katie and I went to what was it called at that point, the convention part.
It wasn't WrestleCon at that point. It was something
No,
else. I think. I don't remember.
All Access, I think. Yeah.
The WWE, yeah,
Yeah,
All
the
Access. It
WWE
wasn't.
convention part where they had
Right.
matches, which I didn't really watch. Like they had a Rey Mysterio match, and like it was literally the closest I could have ever been to a ring for a WWE match. Like we were standing on the because like there was no seats, there's just a railing around
Yeah.
the ring, you know. So we were
Yeah.
standing at the railing. I'm watching a Rey Mysterio match, and there was so much other cool shit. I just walked away. Like I just walked off. But there was like they had like the signing booths set up, and it was like $35 or $40 to get a ticket into one of those signing booths. But when we went on like Thursday afternoon or something, there was just like no fucking people there. There was, but it was like it was mostly people who were like there because they had booked a time slot for this day at this time with like doing the JR calling the match thing and stuff like that. Which I saw people doing, which looked really cool, but I wasn't paying. I can't remember how much it was, but I wasn't paying that.
Yeah, it was pretty ludicrous from
Yeah.
what little I remember of it.
But I remember like there was nobody, like they had the actual WWE championship there and we're letting people hold it and take pictures with it. And I did that and I got to do that for free because there was nobody in line. Katie and I were just walking past Gail Kim and she was in a signing line. There was no one in line. And she literally like shouted out to us and was like, "Hey, y'all come over here." And we were like, "What?" She's like, "Do y'all have
yes.
wristbands? Do y'all have wristbands?" I was like, "No." She's like, she kind of looks around. She's like, "I don't give a damn. Come on." And she like sat there and
she
chatted
seems
with
like
us for a minute and
coolest.
took pictures. Like, yeah, she was very cool. She was very cool.
I love Gail
like,
Kim.
Somebody else did that too. There was like 2 or 3 people who had lines going on and no one was in line. And they were like, "Fuck all that shit with the wristbands. Come here. Come here and talk to me." And yeah, like, and all of them were
That's
people
dope.
we knew and like we recognized these people. Like we were walking past Gail Kim and I was like, "Oh, that sucks. There's nobody in line. That's fucking Gail Kim. She's amazing." And she was like, "Hey guys, come here," you know? And I was like, "Oh, she really is amazing." Like, because she just was like, "Yeah, fuck that $40 wristband. Come here. I'll sign whatever you got. We'll take pictures," you know, like she was super cool. There was other ones that did that too. I can't remember who the other ones were. But that was like a way better experience there than like going to I went to the ROH show and I remember like meeting Bushwhacker Luke that was the one that was still alive.
It was Luke, yeah.
He was like, "Hey, come here. I'll sign something for you." And then he's like 25. He signed it and it was like $25. I was like, you grifting
like,
bastard.
It's like you need to discuss this
Yeah, I
beforehand,
was like, I ain't paying you.
guy.
I was like, here's $5. Fuck off, man. Like, fucking,
Uh,
I was mad, but I took the shit. But it was that big like ROH sheet, with all the people on it, and I had
Yup,
so many
yup.
other signatures on there that his wasn't really the biggest one on there either. Like, I mean, there's names on there that I wish I knew where that sheet was now because I don't. It's like in storage
Yeah.
somewhere, and I hope it's not ruined. But there was like people on there who are like definitely ex WWE champions and ex AEW champions at this point.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, dude.
Saw the future.
Yeah, I mean, so we got off on a real tangent about WrestleMania 25, and getting kidnapped by Kid Rock for 15 minutes, and that turned into a lot of other stuff. But welcome to the podcast.
Welcome to the show, guys.
Hi, how are y'all doing for the first 15 minutes? That might be our longest intro ever.
Possibly, yeah.
But
So what we need to do now then is be brief. I mean, we always try and we always fail, but we need to be brief with our reviews here.
Well, my reviews are kind of brief because there just didn't seem to be a lot going on for me this week. I didn't hate SmackDown, but I didn't really like much of it, and I didn't hate Raw. I actually liked a lot of Raw, but it was really short for me for some reason. Like it felt like it was over, immediately almost.
Well, let's explore that.
Yeah,
Let's
let's get into
go
it.
into the lockup.
Let's get into our lockup. So yeah, for Raw, from March 10th, we started out typical Raw opening with Jey Uso. Crowd is into it. Everybody's super into it. Pat McAfee's still super annoying, y'all. Don't know how to how to express my disdain for this man in a positive manner. I don't like him. And it's not even a personal thing anymore. It's you are ruining my wrestling, dude. Go away, please. He's just a bad commentator. He's bad at this. Y'all have Wade Barrett, and you are forcing this guy down our throat. You have Corey Graves, and you're forcing this guy down. I enjoyed Raw a lot more when Corey Graves was the guy. And I'm hoping that in August, when football resumes, that Corey Graves will once again be the guy. Though with the way he kind of threw a tantrum, it might be old stew. So so anyway, we start off with Jey Uso. He comes out. He's taking on Grayson Waller, accompanied by Austin Theory. We know how this is going. I mean, Jey Uso is going to be in a title match at WrestleMania. Grayson Waller might not be on WrestleMania, so Grayson Waller, of course, takes the L. It's look, Jey Uso's super over, but his matches are not anything special. Okay, like I don't think I'm saying anything controversial by saying that. They by far had the most derided match with his brother at last WrestleMania. His in-ring work is not like super special. He's hype. He's fun to watch. He's a great promo. He's super over, especially with the kids. And WWE's core dynamic, let's be real here, is kids. So Jey Uso
And their
super over, and
parents who are willing to spend money on them.
yes. But he's fun and he's over. Is he gonna win against Gunther? Yeah. Is Gunther gonna have to drag him kicking and screaming to a 3-star WrestleMania match? Probably. Okay. That's not me being negative about
Yeah.
Jey. That's just me being real about Jey.
The
And everybody
magic
knows
with
it.
him is with his brother.
Yeah.
Like,
The
you
in-ring
can't.
magic was definitely the brothers
Are
together.
arguably the best, most the best tag team, at least certainly in WWE history, maybe in history in general. I don't know. It's an arguable point. Like at this, they have the longest title reign. They have, I mean, I don't think they have
Probably
the
the
most title reigns together, but they're pretty close.
Yeah. If
If
they're
they're
not number
not,
one, it has to be close.
like they're probably the quintessential WWE tag team at this point, and for good reason, because they're really, really awesome together.
Mm-hmm.
But
as singles,
I mean, you spend that much time as a tag team, and you kind of start thinking like a tag wrestler, I guess.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Now,
maybe I shouldn't say anything because I haven't seen much of his singles work because, again, I don't really watch the product. But maybe I'm a hypocrite for even saying anything.
No, because you're spot on. That's the thing. You're spot on. They're like fantastic they were fantastic as a tag team. They're one of the best all time ever tag teams. And Jey as over as he is, and he is, like, I can't overstate how over he is because he is super over. Everybody does the thing, like everybody's doing the thing. Everybody's eating with him. I hate saying that. I hate it, but
Me
I
too, especially since that word has not been in the modern pop culture lexicon that long, and it's already changed definitions a bunch of times, and I cannot keep up.
no, I can't
I am a
either.
40-year-old man, emphasis on the old, and I cannot keep up
Here's the part where
with the.
Wrestle Dads comes
I
in.
don't get it.
Uh,
I don't get it. Guys, educate me. Why does yeet no longer mean to throw somebody off of a high surface anymore?
Maybe it still
I don't
does.
get it. I
But
don't get it.
but yeah. So okay. So the match
Is that
was
the sound
nothing
he makes
special.
when he throws himself off the top rope? Is that what it is?
No. It's still
Well
called like
then,
the Uso splash and stuff when he does all that stuff.
what are we doing?
Don't know.
I don't
Don't
understand,
know.
guys.
I don't know where
Educate
the
me,
Yeet thing
please. I
came
want to
from.
be educated.
See, that's the thing. When I started watching WWE again for this podcast to like catch up and be current on what's going on, this was already happening. So I have no idea where it came from. And the minimal stuff I know about Bloodline from before I started watching again is, it's all like, oh, he's not feeling very oozy today and making everybody, break character in ring, which was like the only really prevalent thing that came out of that whole era. So of course Jay wins. Austin Theory tries to attack him afterwards. He gets speared. We're making Jay look super strong, and then
I
he's
haven't
attacked
yet
from
broken
behind by
those two up
Gunther.
yet.
And Gunther chokes him out basically. But before they cut to commercial, Jay's already back up. Like he got choked out by Gunther, but now he's already back up, and we see him kind of walking out. I think they might have mistimed the commercial, to be perfectly honest with you, and not realize that they did it until later. Or maybe there's separate Netflix feeds, and that's the one I got. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe it's a Netflix issue.
I think it might be
because Netflix isn't used to broadcasting commercials.
No,
so maybe it's on their end.
Yeah. So then here's the thing we were talking about earlier. So then AJ Styles comes out, and I'm like, hell yeah, because I love AJ Styles, and I'm like,
yeah, he's a flat earther, but at least he's a great wrestler.
I mean, he might be stupid, but he doesn't seem to be a bigot or anything. So I mean, I'll give somebody a break for being a flat earther. He's not a Nazi. I mean, at least I don't think so. I mean, even if he is, what as long as he's not out here in public doing it, I don't give he's a wrestler, and it's better us not knowing how they're affiliated, guys. It's really just better us not knowing.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm starting to feel that too.
So anyway, he's not. Beside the point, great wrestler. I've loved AJ Styles for a long time. He's just really good at what he does. And so he's out doing a promo, and it looks like we're about to flesh out AJ Styles' WrestleMania opponent. And I'm like, hell yes. Who are they going to put with AJ? Because this could be like this could be Penta, and this could be like a TNA or an AEW level match. Like this could be,
that would be amazing,
wouldn't it? And then this music hits, and it takes me a second because I haven't heard it enough for it to immediately kick in who it is. And it's Logan Paul. And then somewhere in the next 3 or 4 minutes after that, Andrew Schultz gets in the mix, and he's just not that funny. So he is being adversarial towards Logan Paul, but I don't like either of them. So this doesn't help anything for me. I kind of just skimmed through this. I have nothing to report. Like I said, I'm not going to report on Logan Paul if he's, I mean, his like, look, I've seen a couple of his promos. I've actually watched them. He's not good at this, guys. Like, as good as y'all are saying he is in the ring, and so far, how good he has been relative to what you think should be his skill level. But like, if he's going to be a WWE full timer, and we're going to say he's good enough to do that and sign a contract and be a full timer at WWE, he's not that good. All right. I'm sorry. He's not. And he is proving to me every time he picks up a microphone that I've seen that he's not good at that part either. Because AJ Styles is not really known for being quick on his feet with the promo war stuff. And that's probably why they brought Andrew Schultz. That's probably why they brought Andrew Schultz into this thing to be on AJ's side, because they thought, maybe AJ's not that quick on his feet with the mic, so maybe Logan talking his young guy shit, we're gonna need somebody to be able to match that vibe, right? But no, AJ could have definitely handled this on his own. Just based on the little bit of it I saw, because I really disdain the guy and I can't watch him. I can't. It makes me physically sick to even listen to him talk. But WWE gave me a nice palate cleanser directly afterwards, because now we've got a tornado tag team no DQ match between the New Day and Rey Mysterio and Dragon Lee. I always want to say Dralistico when I'm talking about Dragon Lee, because they're basically the same guy. I know they're not, and I know that's probably kind of a little offensive, but guys,
I think they are brothers.
They're brothers or something, right? Like it's hard.
They are brothers.
Look at them side by side.
And Dragon Lee are all brothers.
Yeah, I thought that too. So I'm like, of course they're similar. But like I watch both products, and those guys they're really similar, guys. Okay. So like one is the WWE version of the guy and one is the AEW version of the guy. I'm not convinced that Dralistico doesn't mean Dragon Lee. All right.
It means drastic.
Oh yeah. Okay. I knew that. All right, I was trying to make a joke. Mm-hmm. Okay, but anyway, the match itself doesn't really matter.
It's got the Lee, like it's
yeah, it does. Yeah. So, this is a tornado tag match. So I mean, we got furniture early, and it looks like everything's going really well. Woods and Kingston are doing their thing. Rey Mysterio and Dragon Lee are doing their thing. It's a good match. It's a good match, and then suddenly, this guy in a black hoodie and a red and white mask with blue wings coming off the eyes shows up and attacks Rey Mysterio. And then like he stands there for a minute. Like this guy just like jumps the guardrail and does this. So at first I'm like, who is the fan in the weird mask who just attacked Rey Mysterio? And why are we seeing it live? Because they definitely should be cutting away from this. Like if Kevin Dunn is bad at things, he also knew when to cut away from certain things, because we were not all subject to certain shots that we could have been subject to over the course of the last 40 years of WWE. But this guy is just standing there, and they zoom in on his head, and the mask has a big star in the front, and it says American Made in the star. So this is obviously Chad Gable. So last week he got a little, like he had like a little 2-minute vignette that I missed initially and then got to see later, where he's in Mexico and he hands a stack of money to a guy, and a guy hands him back a box. And he opens the box, and we don't see what's in the box. Well, apparently what was in the box was a lucha mask. And this is the secret to taking down luchadors, is this lucha mask thing. Now,
to take them down, you must become them.
Yeah. So this is no DQ. So like he runs away, and there's like security chasing him. And I'm going to tell you this, 2 things that I saw here that were funny as hell is that Chad Gable, for being short, is fast as hell.
He's lightning quick.
And second, the local guy they had dressed up as security, who they tasked with chasing him, is also fast as hell. Because he was right on his heels the whole time. Like he got a 2-second head start, and that dude caught him and stayed on his heels the entire time. And he was moving, boy.
They probably asked, hey, whatever local, indies were there, hey, we have an angle that we need a guy for. Do you got anybody? Like, send us your fastest guy, because he's gonna need to chase down our second fastest guy. Braun Breaker still exists.
Dude, Braun Breaker is something else. And we'll talk about him a little bit too, because he's been heavily featured this week.
But yeah, like it wouldn't surprise me if that was the parameter that was what they requested specifically.
Yeah. So needless to say, because of this interference, the New Day gets the win here. They've been doing a lot of like, even if they're going to schmoz it a little bit, we're still getting a definitive, like, winner and loser. Not a lot of DQs, not a lot of stuff getting thrown out. This was a tornado tag match, so this was actually legal. It was perfectly legal. Or
at least it wasn't illegal.
Yeah, it wasn't illegal. So then Cody Rhodes comes out, weird spot for him to be coming out. I've been kind of getting used to him coming out like directly before or after the main event, even. At Elimination Chamber,
What's
that
he
whole
doing
thing
on
with
Raw?
well, this storyline with Cena is kind of gonna span both shows probably until WrestleMania.
They always make a big deal about this brand split until they don't want to anymore.
Yeah, until Cody Rhodes is on every show, but Gunther's still only on Raw. Yeah, like. Actually, I think Gunther might have been on SmackDown this week. He might have been. I'll look at my notes later when I'm doing that part. But he comes out, nice promo. I mean, he's got a for real black eye. Oddly enough, he didn't really say anything about Travis Scott, and I feel like it might be because he did not have anything nice to say, or anything that he could have said in kayfabe that wasn't going to sound completely vitriolic and terrible. So maybe he just didn't cross that line or whatever. But he did call out John Cena.
Limits. Like he didn't. I don't think whatever Travis Scott did or didn't do merited Cody going all Disco Inferno on him.
So. Oh, there were so many wrestlers, so many like famous wrestlers who were like, man, I would have broke character right there. He has so much more like composure than I have in this same situation, you know. And I mean, good on Cody Rhodes for being the QB and having all that composure because you got to if you're the QB1, you have to. But
not wrong.
I mean, man, oh man, that just you busted my eardrum, dude. Like for real, like even if I'm not gonna beat you up, next time we're backstage together, we're definitely having a conversation. Like for real.
Oddly enough, not the only one with a busted eardrum.
Yeah, Swerve too, actually.
Yeah. Oddly enough.
I didn't catch where that happened to him though either. So
it was I think on one of the kicks that he took from Ricochet. I'm not sure.
We'll talk about some kicks in AEW because I want your thoughts on some things when we talk about some of those kicks.
Oh, we'll talk about kicks.
Yes, we will.
We'll talk about kicks. We'll get our kicks talking about kicks.
So after Cody does his thing, then we've got Raquel Rodriguez versus Bayley. They're in a women's intercontinental title #1 contenders match. With it being Raquel Rodriguez and Bayley, I smell the end of Lyra Valkyria's intercontinental title reign coming pretty quick. I don't know why either. It's not her fault that they haven't been making use of her and haven't been promoting her I mean, this is an intercontinental title, okay? Just because it's a women's title doesn't mean anything to me. It's an intercontinental title. If you're going to call it that, treat it with the respect that you treat the other one with. And Braun Breaker is definitely getting his respect. We'll say that. So Lyra is not. It's a tale of two intercontinental titles. We can see the difference.
I wouldn't. All I'll say is this: Lyra Valkyria was the one to dethrone Becky Lynch from her short NXT title reign. So it's not like they don't think the world of Lyra. It's probably just a not right now thing.
It must be.
So
man.
I would not count out the possibility of her beating whoever won that match. Maybe. It was probably Bayley. Yeah.
No.
I wouldn't even count out the possibility of her beating Bayley. I wouldn't.
You think Bayley would win that match, wouldn't you?
Raquel
really? Beat Bayley. Yeah.
Good for back. Good for big back.
But
seriously, she's the only woman I've ever seen in wrestling who've made "I have a sexy back" their whole gimmick.
Yeah, it is kind of her whole gimmick, isn't it? Because like even now, she's wearing like the full body suits that don't have a back.
She's got a nice looking back, which I didn't even know was a thing. You know,
yeah. So, but yeah, like, so they battled. It was a good match. She's bringing
her sexy back. Yeah.
It was a good match. Of course, because Raquel's in it, we got Liv and Dom interfering.
I forgot about that. Yeah, that makes more sense now.
Yeah. So a lot of interference, a lot of bullshit. Basically leads to Bayley taking the L here. But the match wasn't bad. Raquel's getting better. I'm trying to give her the benefit of the doubt, like I do with everybody. Like lately is a big thing of mine. Like, okay, I didn't like that match. Let's wait till the next one. I let that carry on for like 7 matches with Mercedes, guys. This last one was freaking awesome. Okay. And it didn't even end it
Yeah.
good. So, like, I'm doing it. I'm doing the thing. Okay. It's like me working on myself. I'm trying to be, like maybe if I didn't like that match, let's let them cook a little bit, So I've been letting Raquel cook, and she's starting to cook a little bit. So let's.
And to be fair, this is the first opportunity that I've heard you talk about her having a singles match in a long time.
Yeah, they've been kind of just her and Liv doing this. The she's the heater or she's the tag partner thing, and they are the women's tag champions. So yeah, she's been playing Diesel for sure.
HBK. Yeah.
Yeah. They definitely have like the way that Judgment Day is starting to work right now is starting to have a real old school like DX and like NWO vibe. And of course I am not stupid enough to think that Dom isn't pulling plays right out of Uncle Eddie's playbook, because he definitely is. Okay, guys, he really is.
You mean Daddy Eddie's playbook?
Dad's playbook, yeah, but it's definitely working too. It's working, so let the kid do whatever he wants.
Like, dude, everybody should be pulling from Eddie Guerrero. He was one of the best of all time.
Yeah,
everybody should be pulling from Eddie Guerrero.
Okay,
shamelessly.
So now, I loved this segment, but at first I hated it. And hearing how it goes, you'll understand what I'm talking about. Okay. So Bianca comes out. Now we found out that, like Naomi's the one who attacked Jade. Naomi is pretty much going full heel now. Bianca's like been super upset, but she's got this title shot at WrestleMania with Io Sky. And she's got it with Io Sky because she kind of interfered in the match last week between Rhea and Io and cost Rhea the title a little bit. Like, it's kind of Bianca's fault. So of course we're barreling towards a 3-way here. We're probably barreling towards 2 3-ways at WrestleMania, and this is one of them. And so Bianca comes out and she's talking about how she's got this shot at WrestleMania and this is what she needs to concentrate on and all this other stuff. And then Io comes out and she's like, I think she's basically like, I'm the champion. I'm going to WrestleMania as the champion. Like, you need to quit dismissing me. And then, like, before she can even get like that full coherent thought out, Rhea interrupts her. And Rhea comes out, and then it's like Rhea and Bianca standing face to face, but the champion is like in between, but back, So it's like we're definitely concentrating on Rhea and Bianca here. And while they're talking shit to each other, they both kind of just like pie face Io and like shove her and stuff. And I hate this.
You know what though? That'll give her a nice edge going into that match.
We're already exploiting that edge. So here's why I don't hate this segment, because at this point I hate it. At this point I'm like, they are being so dismissive of this person who is a valid title holder and always is a valid contender to this title. Like, nobody gives Io all the love she deserves. She's really good at this shit.
No, she's stellar.
So Io, after getting pie-faced for the second time, you can see is like visibly fed up. Like, we are about to see her like hair stand on end and turn, blonde and just full Super Saiyan, right? And it's kind of what happens, because she spins Rhea around and slaps the shit out of her. And Rhea goes down, and then she spins Bianca around and slaps the shit out of her. And Bianca goes down. And then she holds her title up and starts like literally throwing a tantrum in the middle of the ring. She's jumping up and down. She's like, I am the champion and you're going to respect me. It turned from being
did she do the Asuka thing where she just rants in Japanese?
Yeah. When she like was powdering out of the ring with her title, she is just screaming. I mean, 90 miles an hour. I have no idea what she said. But at the beginning, she was jumping up and down, screaming, in English, I am the champion. You're going to respect me. And then just started screaming in Japanese and like so fast that like I couldn't pick out any of the words to try to translate them if I wanted to. Yeah. So, but yeah.
I don't know why it is this way, but for some reason, I really love it when Joshi wrestlers just scream in Japanese. Like, for some reason, I'm just really into it in a weird way. Can't explain it.
Well, EO loves
Sorry.
it.
But like, I love when anytime Asuka is on is on the screen, I'm like, and she has a microphone, I'm like, just scream in Japanese. That's all you need to do. Just I don't even care if you're reading your grocery list. I'm not gonna know the difference. Like,
Right.
just yell at them.
Just scream it in Japanese.
Please, let me watch you yell. Let me watch you dress them down in a foreign language. Please.
So, and here's why I say Raw went kind of fast. Because now we're already at the main event with Seth Rollins and CM Punk in a steel cage. And
yeah, it does sound like not like a lot.
Now, here's what I'll tell you. Because I don't live in a vacuum and I don't only watch WWE content, this was definitely not the best cage match I had watched in this 24-hour period. Because I watched Will Ospreay and Kyle Fletcher try to murder one another. Not 24 hours before I watched this. It wasn't even 24 hours because theirs was at like close to the end of the show. This was like at 8:00 at night. So like it was less than 24 hours later, and we've got another cage match between two people who I really like watching matches between, because as much as I'm sure they get along a little bit, I still feel like Seth Rollins and CM Punk just hate each other. Like on screen, at least, they fucking despise each other. Now, backstage...
Here's the thing about Seth Rollins acting. It's not that good. So if he actually has heat with somebody, you pretty much know it.
Well, he wrestles with CM Punk like they're best buddies. So I'll give him that. He hates the guy. He's fueling it into some great matches. He's doing the business.
Dude, you're never going to find a bigger company man than Seth Rollins. He will do what he is asked to do to the best of his ability.
So, okay. Both of them kicked out of like 3 finishers and each other's finisher. Okay? That's the story of the match. There you go. They both kicked out of like 3 finishers and each other's.
I read about this in the Observer.
So,
yeah.
Then Seth Rollins GTS CM Punk like for a second time. And then he's like leaning against the cage, and Punk is just kind of out. And I forget why we were here at this point, like where he's not trying to make a pin or anything. But he's leaned up against the cage where the door is. And the camera is just on Seth Rollins. We're watching Seth Rollins, like right here.
Oh, that's a tell.
We're watching Seth Rollins. Yeah, it is a tell because this is going on for like 3 minutes. They don't want you to see
what's coming behind him.
They don't know. Yeah. And what we hear, we can hear still. And the crowd is like losing their fucking minds. No idea what's going on, though, because for like 2 minutes we're locked on Seth Rollins.
See, that's not that big a deal as long as the announcers sell it.
The announcers say
I wonder what's
nothing.
going on. It's like, I hear these fans reacting. What the heck is going on? Can we get a different camera angle? Oh my God.
Right before we got the second camera angle, Michael Cole was like, oh crap, is that? And the camera angle flipped, and he's like, oh shit, it's Roman Reigns, because it's Roman Reigns, who opens the cage door, grabs Seth Rollins, and pulls him out of the cage to the floor, where the bell immediately rings, and Seth Rollins is the winner because he escaped the cage.
Something tells me he doesn't feel like a winner right now, though.
So this is how we're gonna get the 3-way, because obviously CM Punk is livid. We're gonna get into that in just a second, though, because right now Roman Reigns then takes his revenge from the Royal Rumble, because we remember at the Royal Rumble, Reigns was he got dumped out by CM Punk, but he had also just gotten rid of Seth Rollins. Like Roman Reigns took out Seth Rollins and then got dumped out by CM Punk. And Roman Reigns was like, what the hell, like looking at CM Punk, and Seth came and like shoved him into the stairs and stomped him on the steps and then stomped him again on the floor and like just shat on Roman Reigns' whole day from that point on for like 5 minutes. Roman returned the favor here. He pulled Seth out. So yeah, he gave him the win, but then he stomped him a couple of times and he speared him a couple of times, and we got a Superman punch, and he just basically ransacked CM Punk, or not CM Punk, but Seth Rollins. Now, at this point, he turns around and he looks in the cage at CM Punk, who we all think is probably alive, standing on his own 2 feet, and livid. But he's not, because he's being consoled with a hug by Paul Heyman. And Roman Reigns is pissed about that. And that's where the show kind of goes off the air. So I don't know what's going on here, but this is going to be a 3-way. Like, this is obviously going to be a 3-way.
Roman, people can have more than one friend.
That's true.
I don't think he understands that. Is being kind of toxic right now. Just gonna put it out there. You're being kind of toxic.
Oh no, wait. Romans was pissed, and then he got in the ring. He separated Paul Heyman from CM Punk, and then he speared CM Punk. That's where we went off the air.
Yeah, definitely toxic.
But yeah. Roman Reigns is totally a toxic relationship guy. Like, my brother, like, he did this shit to Sami Zayn. Like, Sami Zayn wasn't allowed to be friends with Kevin Owens. He's doing this shit with Paul Heyman. Like, what happened? You know, like, I never
Seth
mind.
Rollins,
you know what?
Ruined everything,
I was going to say something here about, like, what if X person comes back? What is Roman Reigns going to do about him and Paul Heyman? But I'm not even going to say that name. So, because I don't want him to come back.
It's impossible. It's not going to happen.
No, I don't think so either. I think TKO understands the optics of that at this point, and I don't think they're going to let it happen. So, but yeah, if that guy returned, what would Roman Reigns do then? Like, what? That's not CM Punk, bro.
Nope.
So yeah, I mean, but that's where the show goes off the air. Okay, let me say this. It seemed like it went really quickly, but I feel like when I enjoy something, it always seems like it goes too quickly. I really enjoyed this episode of Raw. Everybody's wrestling was really good, except for like the 10 or 15 minutes I had to skim through because I don't really care what Logan Paul has to say. And also watching him being fully matched on the microphone by a guy like AJ Styles. Like, this is why they can't put you in a program with CM Punk, Logan, because you're getting fully met on the mic by somebody like AJ Styles. CM Punk would literally set you aflame with words.
Yep.
And you would never have more heat, and afterwards your career will die. Because everybody will realize, because he won't tell you anything but the truth. So, yeah. Just like last week when I guess they probably called, like, when I guarantee you, if there was going to be a CM Punk and Logan Paul program last week when CM Punk said, "I'm the devil and you're nobody," it ended that immediately. Paul was like, "Oh no, we cannot put them two together because CM Punk is going to go way worse than that."
Completely just eviscerate.
Oh, dude, he will scorched earth him to no end. Like, we know how this works. We've seen it happen. You know, like, you put CM Punk across the ring from a real life scumbag, the chances of him going into a business for himself are good to great. So, let's not even, we can put him in there with Seth and he can talk about how he hates Seth all day, and maybe he does. And we can put him in there with Roman, he can talk about how he hates Roman all day, and maybe he does. But then he's got a ballast if he decides to act out in Heyman, who's also involved. And he has to think, you know, how, if I decide to be an asshole, how will that affect Paul's career? So this is a good ballast for him. If we're going to let him have a microphone live, because it's always dangerous when you give that guy a live mic, as much as I love him. So yeah, great show though. But the only problem that I had with it is that, like, guys, I know we announced this the week before, but by the point you announced this match and made this match, we already knew that Kyle Fletcher and Will Ospreay were going to be in a cage the day before. You shouldn't have ever announced this as a cage match. This shouldn't have been a cage match. You should have saved this till next week. It shouldn't. No, you shouldn't have done this within 24 hours of that one. Because all I could think the whole time was this isn't as good as that one was.
Yeah.
And that's unfortunate because I like both of these guys in the ring. I hate Seth Rollins on the mic. I hate Space Disco Gargamel so much. But I like him in the ring.
Space Disco Gargamel. I love it.
Oh, but
I thought CrossFit Jesus was funny.
Oh gosh, man. He's a lot of things. Every week, I have a different nickname for Seth Rollins every week. It just depends on what he's wearing.
Well, we should just make it a segment.
Maybe it will. This week's
the reveal
well,
of
Space Disco Gargamel is this week for sure. We'll
tune
talk
in
about
next
that more
week
next
for what are we calling Seth Rollins this week?
week. With that said, let's go over to the shine.
The shine, baby. All right, the shine this week is AEW Dynamite from March 12th, 2025, from Fresno State, Save Mart Center at Fresno State in Fresno, California. So still in California, still in Southern California, I believe. I think Fresno's in Southern California. You kind of have to probably consider Southern California AEW country simply because of the PWG influence that permeates the entire company. So yeah, the crowd was hot for pretty much the whole time. Show actually opens with Omega coming, Kenny Omega, new international champion, coming to the ring and cutting a promo. It wasn't like it was an okay promo. It was basically him saying, he appreciated Takeshita for pushing him. He appreciated what he did for the international title and how he made it truly international by defending it all over the world in different promotions and stuff like that. He wants to uphold that thing. And that led right into the introduction of the International Invitational opening. So there are 2 matches on this card, 2 matches on the other card. The winners of those get to face each other in a 4-way next week on Dynamite. That winner of that faces Kenny Omega at Dynasty for the international title. And for the most part, the brackets are kind of international. Like you have Americans, Canadians, and Mexicans,
Japanese.
and 1 Japanese person. So yeah, I guess sure. Like nobody from anywhere, like out of the way that you don't hear of normally.
Right.
Like they didn't bring Miro back for this or anything. But
yeah.
But yeah, that happens, and Kenny leaves the ring as the Ops are coming to the ring for the first match. First match being a squash, weird choice.
This bothered me a little bit. Okay, because it shows Kenny leaving, right?
Yeah,
And the Ops are
yeah,
coming in,
yeah,
and they interact a little bit, right?
yeah. Shibata,
But the guys that
they
are about
kind
to
of
get their
tease Shibata and Omega,
yeah,
but spoiler alert for later in the show, that ain't gonna happen.
no, but
Uh,
the guys who are going to get their asses kicked are in the ring.
yeah. How
Were
did
they
they get
underneath
there?
the ring or something?
God,
I
I
mean,
kind of hope so.
is that why that guy
I
was
would
sticking
love
his
it if
tongue
that
out
was
so
it.
much he was getting the dust from underneath the ring out?
Do you think Matt Hardy left one of his teleporters there and they just found it in the back? Like,
They look like they might have stumbled upon a teleporter. To be
yeah,
honest,
they're just there, and they get swiftly dealt with. Like this match wouldn't even get a rating if it was up to me. It was like,
no,
this was more of an angle
it was
than
fun,
anything.
but
It
that
was
was it.
it was a showcase for Shibata.
Yeah,
Shibata wins with the sleeper and the PK, and he looks awesome doing it because he's Shibata. Like
mm-hmm.
he doesn't need to speak English; he just kicks your ass.
No,
Like
his phone does all
he's
his
awesome.
talking for him.
Yeah, he's awesome. I love Shibata. After that though, we get a promo from Ricochet on the Tron, because he is Shibata's opponent in this tournament. So he says that, he's undeterred. He didn't win the number 1 contendership for the world title, but you know what? That international title belt, that's still looking pretty, and I still got a promise to make good on for this year. This year, Ricochet is going to win gold. So, yeah, he wanted he wanted Shibata to take the option that he was giving him to just not show up and get embarrassed. Guess what? Shibata does show up. He does not embarrass himself. But that's for a little bit later in the show. They set up a little thing where Swerve he was cutting a promo. This was taped post Dynasty or post Revolution rather. He was basically saying I'm next in line, whether blah blah blah, and Cope comes up and he's like, hey, you know what, I I didn't really lose that. So I'm going to be talking to Tony about rectifying that situation. So it may not even be Moxley that you face at Dynasty. It might be me. And if it is, well, you should know what you're in for. And Swerve's like, yeah, I respect that. From one opportunist to another, I respect that. So yeah, there's that. They make the announcement that the rematch between Cope and Swerve, or not Swerve, and Mox will take place the following week on Dynamite in a street fight with the world title on the line. I imagine. I don't think that the chatter online, because remember there was a lot of chatter online about how in relation to the rest of the Revolution card, the main event felt like it fell short. Like even we were talking about it during the watch along.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, how do you follow up 3 5-star matches with just like a match?
Yeah.
Like, I still haven't watched it back since, but I'm sure in a vacuum it's probably better than we remember because we had our expectations heightened to a real high level,
Oh yeah.
and then we were exhausted by that point because we'd watched 4 hours of wrestling.
True.
It was real late because you and I were going real late into the morning because we had to delay things because I got kids,
I got
just like Heath
kids.
Slater. So, um, but point is that like in a vacuum, it's probably a better match than people remember, and people did wake up when Christian Cage. I say what you want about it. I thought it was a great bit of business. Ultimately, having because he injected some life into that thing. That all having been said, I don't think the negative chatter about this rematch taking place has anything to do with the actual performance of the match. I think it was always the plan.
Mm-hmm.
It was always the plan to have Christian Cage be an interloper, and it was always the plan to run this back between the two of them in a no DQ capacity so that Cope could lose when the Death Riders come back.
Yeah.
Because they've been out for a while selling the concertos. You got to introduce them back at some point. If it's in a no DQ situation, what's Cope going to do? He can't complain about it. The rules state that people can interfere because there aren't any disqualifications. So if he didn't bring back up when anticipating the return of those guys, that's on him. You know,
Yeah.
so that's what I expect will happen. The Death Riders will return, screw Cope over, and it'll be done with that. It'll be Mox and Swerve Dynasty. Um, Match number 2, weird, super weird pairing, but it kind of worked. Brian Cage and Dralistico versus Hologram and Powerhouse Hobbs, like super duper weird. Like they set this up with a promo where Hobbs comes up to Hologram and he's like, "Hey, we can kill two birds with one stone with the guys that we don't like if we do this weird, almost like two storyline encompassing match."
Mm-hmm.
It was fun, but it was weird.
Yeah.
Um, at one point though, probably the highlight of the match though was the one point where a hologram goes for the tope suicida and is caught in midair by Brian Cage and immediately transitioned into a suplex on the floor. Incredible.
Yeah, it was great.
Brian Cage is a monster.
Yeah.
He is a monster who commits war crimes and should be in the Hague. Uh, but yeah, there was some meat, there was some flipping, there was some good stuff in here. Uh, Ending was kind of weird though. Like I feel like Dralistico and Hobbs may have had some miscommunication because Dralistico seemed legit upset. Like he seemed like he was. I wouldn't go so far as to say he was sandbagging, but I don't think that the communication that needed to be there was, and
Mm-hmm.
Dralistico got annoyed with it. Because it looked like he was really kind of laying it in there with Hobbs there a little bit and trying to be like, no, this is what we should do. Like this is what we're going for. In the end, though, he still did his job and took the spine buster for the win, like or for the loss rather. Powerhouse Hobbs and Hologram remains undefeated. Harley Graham was there too. Don't want to leave her out. I don't know why they put her under a mask again to do like anything that she does will get my endorsement because she's wonderful. But I feel like if this is the direction you're going to go, you're losing out on the momentum that she built as a singles wrestler leading up to and up to her match and a little bit after with Mercedes Moné. Like,
Yeah.
what are you doing? Like, if you do both, that's great. That's fine. Have her on both shows. Give her all the TV time she wants because she's earned it. But like, don't relegate her to this only. Please have her continue to wrestle and rack up some wins and do the things she needs to do to regain some momentum and possibly challenge for the TBS title again.
Yeah.
Tony Storm comes out, cuts a great body promo as she's want to do right on the stage there in the spotlight. Not a kid friendly promo.
No.
It's a TV 14. It's a TV 14 audience for a reason. But yeah, she's attacked afterwards though by Megan Bayne, who I called for the record. I called that last week. Who's next for Tony Storm? Megan Bayne. Called it.
Ugh.
Megan Bayne just blasts her from behind, leaves her laying, and just looks over her like, I mean, she looks like a star. Like, she looks like an absolute terror. It's kind of awesome, actually. It's everything they wanted Camille to be, but she wasn't. I don't know why Camille didn't work out. I mean, I wasn't really impressed with her in-ring work. I don't know why they put the NWA title on her for so long, if that was what she was, all she was capable of. To be fair, I mean, but the NWA beggars can't be choosers.
That's true.
But yeah, like I read in the Observer a good note by Meltzer saying that the Queen of the Ring, the movie, Camille is in that movie too.
Yeah.
In fact, her part is bigger than Tony Storm's.
Yeah.
They didn't mention Camille once in the promotion of that.
No.
So I don't know why things got icy all of a sudden, but yeah, must be a real bad reason that they wrote her off.
Yeah, I'm wondering what it was.
Megan Bayne is more than a suitable replacement. She's absolutely an upgrade.
I don't know. I didn't see Camille do anything as bad on TV as I've seen Megan Bayne do. So I'm not sure what she did.
Yeah, I mean, I something tells me it's probably a backstage thing.
Probably
An attitude or whatever. I mean, I'm wondering if I had to guess, it would be she probably did something to ruffle Mercedes' feathers because those two were around each other often because they were paired together, and Mercedes is gonna get what she wants.
Yeah.
She's in a position in the company where she has a lot of stroke, and whether you agree with that being a good thing or a bad thing is irrelevant. The fact is that she has it.
Yeah.
And if I had to guess what might have put Camille in the doghouse, she probably ruffled Mercedes' feathers at some point in a bad way.
Yeah.
So, I mean, if it's a bad enough way for her to say something, I'm guessing that it was probably justified. But I don't know anything for a fact. This is just conjecture. And unlike most other podcasters who talk about wrestling, I am going to openly state that I don't know any of this for a fact. I'm not going to propagate false rumors. I am just going to be open about my hypotheses. That is it. Next match, Beast Mortos had been out there with Dralistico for his match, so he just stayed out there probably. But he was out there and he was facing a wild card, and it was the debut finally after about what 2 months,
Yeah, 2
or
months
so
or
of him
so. Yeah.
being confirmed to have been signed, of Speedball Mike Bailey. They have a very interesting match. I kind of like Bailey. Like, I had never seen any of Bailey. I had heard lots of great things about Speedball Mike Bailey, but I'd never seen any of his work. I kind of like the martial arts thing, and I like that despite the fact that he's got all these big cool spots, that unlike all the people who do that same kind of thing in AEW, he's more deliberate about it. From this one match alone, it seemed like he was being he was doing all the spots, but he was taking his time with them, as opposed
Yeah.
to rapid fire. This is, and then this, and then this, and then this. That Southern California PWG style. It was far more deliberate, and I think that's what's going to set him apart from people in the company. So I'm very much for it. I'm not saying one style is better or worse, but anything that you can do to make yourself stand out is good, especially in a roster that deep with talent.
Yeah.
Um, Unsurprisingly, our boy Beast Mortos sadly does not pick up the win. I
No.
like Speedball, but Beast Mortos is my guy, man. He's my beast. And I mean, as soon as I knew he was in the tournament, especially against the wild card, I'm like, nope, he's not
No,
winning.
no,
He's not
that
advancing.
wild card is gonna be something special. So yeah, I knew he
And
wasn't gonna
it's
win.
so good that he has that law degree to fall back on.
Yeah, yeah,
Speedball pulls off this incredible tornado, like hooking calf kick thing to Mortos that just knocks him right out. Pins him with the 1-2-3. It was weird that he finished him off with that, because the commentary was really hyping up this ultimate weapon finisher, which I guess is a shooting star knee drop, double knee drop.
yeah.
And then he finishes it with something else. So we haven't seen that yet. So maybe he'll bust it out next week, but I don't know. Christian Cage is back there with the patriarchy. He does the thing that I've been wanting people to do. He's been refusing to speak to Renee because of her association with Jon Moxley.
Yeah.
Finally, Jon Moxley and her association is coming back to bite Renee. It's too bad it's Christian Cage, but it's something. It makes sense.
Yes.
It's like, dude, your husband, you chose this husband, okay? You tacitly endorse everything that he does. So why do you hate us, Renee? Why do you hate everybody, Renee? I love Renee. I don't want her to be a heel. I don't want her to, but these are questions that need answering. They're questions that need to be addressed. And I'm glad that even if it's Christian frickin' Cage, one of the worst scumbags on the roster doing it, at least somebody's calling her out.
Yeah.
So she leaves, but then young Nick Wayne stepping up to Papa, come and be like, yeah, you're just making excuses. And like, it looks like those two are probably on a collision course. They're going to be breaking up the patriarchy pretty soon, which is, fine. Okay. Like, to be fair, Cage doesn't really need them to be effective as a heel. And Nick Wayne, very much like Jungle Boy, has sat under the, if you'll pardon the reference to the stable, has sat under Christian Cage's learning tree.
Yeah.
And has improved massively. And he was already super, super talented.
Yeah.
An absolute prodigy. Nick Wayne is going to be just fine.
Yeah,
like,
he is.
He's going to be just fine. That kid cannot even legally drink yet. He will be just fine.
Yeah.
They show a clip of MJF post his loss against Adam Page at Revolution. Lexi was trying to get an interview with him. Door was open in his locker room. He smashes a mirror after yelling at his own reflection. Oh, you're not good enough. Ooh, that was embarrassing. And that leads to MJF walking to the ring. And he claims Hangman cheated, which I know that's a heel thing to claim, but I don't think there's any even basis for that. A fluke victory, and it's not over between them. And then the most interesting thing on this entire show happened. MVP comes out to the ring to meet MJF. And then it's story time, because they have a big hug, and then they go into their own, like, MJF has this awesome interconnected continuity with, like, everybody who comes into AEW.
Yeah.
Oh, you're new in AEW? Oh, guess what? MJF has a history with you somehow.
Already.
And it's all, the funniest thing is it's all true.
Yeah.
Like, like it's verified. You know, it's based on facts. It's based on actual encounters that he's had with them in the events and stuff over the years. Like there's documentation of it and stuff. It's awesome. The MJF connected universe in interconnected wrestling universe is pretty great. Not gonna lie. But MVP said he was impressed with him when he was just a kid that offered to give him a ride for the price of basically being able to pick his brain about the business. Like it was pretty yeah, it was pretty cool story. Um but MVP is like he's really proud of him except for he's not proud of how he acted on Sunday. Why is it why isn't Max angry? Why isn't he why is he whining? Like why he's like you've lost your edge. Nobody respects you anymore. Nobody fears you, more importantly. And then he gives him his business card. We haven't seen him give a business card to anybody in months.
Mm-hmm.
They always say, oh, they're always recruiting, but it doesn't really seem that way. MJF with a Hurt Business, though, is interesting. I like where that's going, especially since MJF initially says, nah, I don't, respectfully, I'm going to decline, and, I don't need your help. And then MVP does he gives him the card again, which is significant because he's anytime anybody's turned him down, he's like, okay, well that was your one shot.
Mm-hmm.
But he really wants MJF to think about it. And I like where this is going. I really do. Because like MVP is trying so hard to get boos. Like he's trying. And the problem is the Hurt Cynic is just too cool. They're just too cool. You know how you get boos? Pair him with Maxwell Jacob Friedman.
Yeah.
Next was the Max Caster Invitational. He gets squashed by Konosuke Takeshita, who looks so mad. Just so mad that he's not the international title holder anymore. Just so mad. He just knocks him out with an elbow, picks him off the Raging Fire. Boom. 1, 2, 3. Like,
yeah.
I like this Max Caster getting the crap kicked out of him by main eventers gimmick. Let's just keep it going for as long as it can.
Yeah.
I don't even care. It takes up 5 minutes. It's really not that bad. Like, I mean, if you want to add another women's match, I will definitely not scoff at that. And this is the thing that it can take place of is this because nobody's going to miss a squash match. Speaking of the women, their only match on this card was Willow Nightingale versus Penelope Ford for no real reason. And it was just kind of an awkward nothing match. Like it's weird. Like they don't really have like a lot of chemistry with one another, and which is disappointing more than anything. Like I want Penelope Ford to have chemistry with everybody because I want to see her improve. I want to see Willow Nightingale have chemistry with everybody because I want to see her climb up the ranks and be entrusted in those championship positions. And that's one hell of a way to do it. But this was just like, like it was weird too because she won on a pounce. It wasn't even the babe with the power bomb. Like it was. I mean, there was some interesting stuff here. Some interesting like submissions, which was new, but like it was more to set up the angle that would happen afterwards. Penelope, in the worst thing that happened this episode, just gave just the most pitiful chair shot to her.
Yeah.
Like it just like I've never swung a chair. Slightly. Okay, like I'm not. Those chairs they're probably a lot heavier than they look on TV. Like I don't think anybody can just swing a chair like a baseball bat. My flabby self certainly can't just whip a chair around, probably. But like,
no, they weigh about a little bit more than like a nice wooden baseball bat, but not much.
Like, I mean, I don't. Ugh. It was not a good looking chair.
They weigh enough that the force of it coming down on its own would have been much heavier than what she actually hit her with.
Yeah, like what it reminded me of. Like I get wanting to be safe, totally, 100%.
Oh yeah, cool with that.
But you can't be throwing these Hulk Hogan looking chair shots.
Yeah, I'm not gonna feed you my bag if you're gonna hit me like that. Like, what the
Yeah,
hell?
like what's the point?
Yeah.
It's just oh, man, it was so disappointing.
Yeah.
Someone, if she's never thrown a chair shot before, she should have sought out how to do it, probably. And I mean, I guess it maybe just a tough lesson of learning on the fly.
Yeah.
But anyway, Megan Bain comes out and is awesome. So she Statlander makes the save for Willow after the terrible chair shot, but then Megan Bain comes out and just like levels them both and gives it the Fate's Descent, which is the
Oh,
F5 to
yeah, it's an F5.
Statlander. Um, Renee's in the back with Mercedes. After that, she has a legitimately bruised throat after taking a kick to to the neck from Momo Watanabe. But she asks Billy Starks to join her, and basically says, "Yeah, you can face me for the TBS title next week. Show me what you got. Show me what you got."
Show me what you
Um,
got.
yeah. Uh, Will Ospreay is out in the ring next, all beat up, and he tells just the most charming story about him getting in trouble with his wife over doing the cage dive. Oh no, I'm not gonna do anything stupid. I totally did something stupid. Like it just really ingratiated me to him. Like not like I needed any help with that, but like when he speaks, it's not like he's a wrestling character. It's like he's a real person.
Yeah.
And that's so refreshing, and it's like I said, really ingratiating. That's one of the reasons why like you should be pushing this guy to the moon, and maybe they will, because
Yeah.
he definitely made his intentions known that he wants to be the world champion, and he way in advance declared for the Owen tournament. Like
Yeah.
they're not going to start that for another 2 months, so like,
It's
uh,
funny because like I saw this promo and then I immediately log on to Blue Sky to see a picture of his wife being hung by her neck from a rope over the side of a ring.
what,
Yeah, I'll have to if I come
dude?
across it again, I'll
Stop,
totally show it to you. But yeah, it was like the
people,
girl like had her hung
stop,
up and was just like leaned all the way back with the rope in her hands, so that I mean she was literally off her feet, like getting hung up. And I was like,
dude.
they're
Like
like, but
that's
then somebody
not
was like,
cool,
yeah,
man.
this is
Stop
Will
doing this.
Ospreay's right wife, the one getting hung, not the one doing the hanging. I was like, holy shit.
Dude, fans are gross. Some fans are really gross. That sucks. Boo to whoever did that. That's mm.
Well, I mean, it's like they were like, why they were like, well, why is she mad at him? I mean, this is her, like. I mean, I kind of understand, but at the same time, this was a great, like, it was a great story, like a great, like I'm in trouble story. Like you didn't, I'm not gonna do anything
Yeah,
stupid, I promise. Proceeds to
yeah.
immediately do
Like
something
anybody
stupid.
who's been in a relationship with anybody for any significant period of time, especially if that has culminated in marriage. Um, yeah, everybody has kind of a story like that.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah, for sure.
it's very relatable. Um, but yeah, so it looks like maybe we're heading towards us. I mean, that main event scene is kind of a wild card at this point. So like,
Yeah,
I was convinced that it was going to be Darby that dethroned Mox, and now I'm not so sure because I mean, Swerve, it's Swerve, like
have we heard from
it's
Darby
Swerve.
since he left?
Yeah,
Do we know
haven't
if
heard
he
from
made it
Darby since.
back down?
I
uh
mean, I don't think he's left yet. I think he's going in April.
oh, okay,
So,
okay.
um, uh, I don't know if they're hedging their bets and putting things in place so they don't have to wait for him to come back, just in case he doesn't come back, or not. I don't know what's going on, and that's kind of awesome.
Yeah.
At the same time, it's like I was very sure that when Mox told Darby to his face, "You will never be world champion," that was your foreshadowing. That was your tell. It was like, oh, they're setting it up so that Mox wins the belt, and then Darby is one to take it from him to prove him wrong,
Mm-hmm.
face to face. I mean, that's what I would do. That's what I mean. If I was gonna put the belt on Darby, that's exactly how I would set it up.
Yeah.
Because you need to. I mean, that's how you set up an underdog. You tell them they can't do it, and then watch me. So I'll take it. I'll take it from you. So, um, but now I'm not so sure between Swerve getting put in the spot for Dynasty, between Osprey saying he wants the world title finally at All In.
Mm-hmm.
Like, oof, like I am not sure anymore, and I wish I was sure because like I talk a lot on Blue Sky about how it's going to be Darby, and now I may have to eat that crow. I don't. I don't want to eat crow. I like crows. I want them to be my friends. I want them to eat my enemies. I don't want to be eating them.
well,
Uh,
well, Son of the
but
Crow might not be the guy right now. I mean,
no, maybe not.
Osprey effectively did a promo against 3 possible different champions. You know,
Yeah,
so
like it's just incredible. I don't know what to think, and there's a part of me that thinks that that's awesome.
yeah,
Unpredictability is part of the fun.
I love that. I love unpredictability. I'm
Mm.
so excited for the next few months.
Uh, Next, MJF runs into Hangman Page backstage. They kind of have a thing back and forth. They say it's not over, and it won't be, but they won't touch for a while. They made it very clear that they're not heading towards a match again anytime soon. The story between them is basically going to be a race to the top to prove each other wrong.
Yeah,
So now you even have MJF and Hangman being positioned in an ascent towards the top too. That's throwing a monkey wrench, throwing needle nose pliers, throwing a ball peen hammer, every tool that you can think of in the whole toolbox is being thrown into this, and I don't know what's going on.
yeah. It's like
But I'm here for it.
it's like Darby can't be the guy because of whatever with Mount Everest, and so like we sent the maintenance man in, and
Yeah.
he used the ball peen hammer, and then we got Cope, and he got the wrench and everything, and now we got Swerve, and then he got the pliers, and here's Osprey, and then he threw all of that shit in the works, and then ripped the sink off the wall and the lockers and a couple of the floorboards up and threw all that shit in there and was like, oh yeah, MJF and
They
Hangman.
did a Spanish fly with it.
Yeah. He grabbed one of the lockers and Spanish flied into the works.
Yep.
Was like,
Yep.
that's MJF and Hangman.
Yep.
I like the unpredictability, but holy shit, man! Like, and then let's go on to the fact that like some of these guys are gonna have to settle for the second title because
Yeah.
some of these guys are gonna win it, and then maybe not even in this order, and so they're gonna have to settle for the second title, which means they have to go after Kenny Omega. And let's not
Yeah.
forget that even though he holds the international title, Kenny Omega is always a candidate for the world championship. So
Because he's Kenny
because
Omega.
it's Kenny Omega. Yeah. So it's like I do not know who will be the next AEW champion, and I'm not positive that AEW knows who will be the next AEW champion.
I'm gonna have fun watching them figure it out.
Hell yeah,
I'll
we
tell you
are.
that.
It seems like we are anyway.
It's gonna be. It may be messy TV, but it'll be good wrestling.
Oh yeah, wrestling will always be good.
Speaking of which, match number 6, main event, AEW International Championship Eliminator Tournament, Orange Cassidy versus my dude Hechicero. Oh, I love anytime Hechicero shows up. Like, I'm just like I'm mooning over him because like nobody does technical wrestling quite like Hechicero. Like
he's
it's
something
like
else.
he is the wizard that his name suggests he is. Like
He's the wizard Jericho wishes he was.
Yeah. Yeah. He even has fire. I think he's the only CMLL guy who has pyro in his AEW entrance too.
Might be.
Like, I think they're really courting him really hard.
Would like to have him whenever he's done with CMLL.
Absolutely. 100%. No question. I would love to have that guy. They do some comedy, which I didn't think they were gonna get like a lot of because of language barrier or whatever. But like you got to remember too that Orange Cassidy, basically in Chikara, was under a mask as one of those ants. But he was He was a luchador, essentially. A lot of his stuff is actually Mexican inspired
Oh yeah, I'm sure it is.
stuff. Like he can wrestle that style. Like, and it's just crazy. Like I'm not sure if he knew how to do this beforehand or if Hechicero taught him how to do it. But very early on in the match, Hechicero is like down, and like Cassie just casually walks over, slips his foot through his Hechicero's arm, and just like rolls him over. Like in such a casual way I've never seen done before. Like it's just I there's untapped potential even still to this day in Orange Cassidy. Like it's incredible. Uh if there was any criticism I would have of this match is that it was too short. Honestly, I could have taken another 5 to 10 minutes of this, but I don't
Mm-hmm.
think they had the overrun to this time. It seems kind of abrupt that Cassidy rolled him up in the mousetrap for the win. Uh I do like the idea of him beating the technical guy with a roll up, a technical roll up finish.
Mm-hmm.
And we hadn't seen him pull out the mousetrap in
Yeah, it's been a
ages.
while. Yeah.
It's been a long time since he did that. So the idea that it could win because Ichishiro would not have been expecting it is logical.
Mm-hmm.
But I feel like it was kind of abrupt and it was kind of anticlimactic because it kind of came out of nowhere without much of a build to it.
Yeah.
I would love to see these guys run it back at some point and give like a proper 20 to 25 minutes to it. I
Mm-hmm.
would I would really love that. Uh but Cassidy gets the win, a rare win too. I think he's in pretty rare company, and I think the only other guys who would beat Hechicero are like main event guys,
Yeah,
and
I
I
think
think there's
so.
only two of them. I can't remember. They named them on the episode. I can't remember who they are now, but yeah, Hechicero has a pretty good AEW record. He usually
Yeah.
beats the guys if they're mid card or lower.
Mm-hmm.
So that's more evidence to suggest that Tony Khan is really high on the guy too, for
Yeah.
the record.
So are
But
we,
yeah,
Tony. So.
afterwards, Speedball comes back out onto the stage and bows in respect to Cassidy, and the show goes off the air. Pretty good episode of Dynamite. It kind of a rebuilding thing. I think a lot of people were probably really beat up from their very
Jeez.
physical pay per view
Right.
that they had. Um, so I thought all in all it was a good show. You know, touches here and there. It wasn't as like star studded as you probably would have expected it to be. But we got Tony, we
Mm-hmm.
got Omega, we got Osprey. They were all in talking segments, but it wasn't wrestling. But I mean, we still got them. You know.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's it.
All right.
So if you're ready, I'm ready. Let's go to the Morton.
Let's get to it. All right, so our Morton this week is our March 14th version of SmackDown. Okay, so last week in a version of SmackDown that we did not cover really because we were doing our AEW watch along, LA Knight won the US title back. Um, continuing our streak of giving Shinsuke a title and not doing anything with the title or the Shinsuke.
Right. Yeah. It
uh,
is the Shinsuke.
yes. And I mean, there's only one Shinsuke, so I feel like the Shinsuke is appropriate. So now, we started off with he came out for a promo, and then he was interrupted by the new bloodline, who are still a thing for some reason. It's still Tama and Jacob and Solo. I don't know why they're still a thing. We'll talk about that a little bit though, because they interrupt him, but then Jimmy Uso interrupts them, and he's like, "Why are you even out here, Us? Like, you lost the Ula Fala to Roman. The worst thing I've ever seen is that I trusted you to be my little brother." And like Jimmy kind of really digging in the family claws, which causes them to try to attack them. At which point, Braun Strowman comes out for the save. So we've got LA Knight, Braun Strowman, and Jimmy Uso, and there's the new bloodline. And then all this comes out and makes this a match right now. So 6-man tag between all these guys after a pretty decent little promo. The match was pretty good, but really it was all about Jacob Fatu. I mean, the guy is just so everything. I mean,
He's
he's just
special. He
everything.
really is.
Yeah. Um, so then after that, we had Charlotte Flair and B-Fab taking each other on. Now I knew B-Fab wasn't going to win this match, but I thought it was going to be a little bit quicker than it was. And actually, B-Fab got a lot of really good offense in. It was a decent match, but um, Charlotte gets the figure eight on her and she taps, but then she won't let go. So definitely leaning back into Charlotte Flair being a heel because the crowd's not going to accept her as a face. We've come to find that out. So of course, because she's beating up on B-Fab and she's held her in this submission, it was probably 30 or 45 seconds that she held her in the submission after the bell had rung, where Tiffany Stratton makes an appearance. And Tiffany not only does a really nice, like, tight package swanton off the ring post to the outside into Charlotte and a bunch of WWE security guards, but then we come back from commercial and they're still fighting. And suddenly Tiffany Stratton's on top of the Tron and does another swanton off the Tron. Like, it's just nothing. And man, oh man, I'll tell you, she calls her finisher the prettiest moonsault ever, but she also has the prettiest swanton ever. Like, it's just so good. She does it in such a way that Jeff could never. And I'm sorry, bud. I'm sorry, sorry, cousin Jeff. You could never. Okay. No, man. No. She's so good at it, man. That's what won my wife over was her swanton. It's just so good. Also, WWE kind of needs to have, like, my wife always has talked about how she wants to be a person like her. She wants to be in a wrestling capacity and she wants her position to be the person who stands at Gorilla and is like, yes, you can, or no, you cannot go out in public looking like that. In this case, they needed that because Charlotte and Tiffany had on the same color gear and almost in the same style. And so when they were fighting each other, it was like the Spider-Man meme. And there was times where if Tiffany wasn't just that much more substantial than Charlotte is, I wouldn't have been able to tell the difference between the two of them. And the only reason I could at certain points is because Tiffany she's just, I don't want to say thicker because I feel like that makes me sound like mean, and I'm not trying to be mean. She's just more substantial than Charlotte is. She looks like she can hit harder. Okay. Like, if you want to, like, in my personal view, like, towards the wrestling business, like, I would prefer Tiffany's to Charlotte's because Tiffany looks like when she hits you, it hurts. Whereas Charlotte looks like she hits you and it doesn't. Sorry. No offense to you, Charlotte. You're a great techer. Don't throw punches, please. So then we're going to have a Miz TV. And it's Cody Rhodes. He's the Miz's guest on Miz TV. But as he does when people come on his show, the Miz kind of tongue-in-cheek, backhanded compliment, talks some shit out the side of his neck to Cody Rhodes, and ends up catching a crossroads for his trouble. And then we learned that next week we're going to be in Brussels, Belgium. This SmackDown also took place at like 3:00 in the afternoon because it was in Spain. And let me tell you how this Spanish crowd was the hottest crowd in so long. They chanted for everybody. They sang everybody's theme song. They gave Orton the Cope treatment with the theme song singing. And you could tell Orton was like really trying not to cry. Like really, really trying to maintain his facade of like this ultimately stone-faced tough guy. But you could tell like it was getting to him, how loud it was and just.
That's pretty awesome.
But it was a really great crowd.
Really cool.
They were in an Olympic stadium, so I'm sure this was like 40, 50, 60,000 people. Like it was a big, big building and a big, big crowd. It was one of those buildings that's big and a crowd big enough that you can hear the chant delay.
Ooh.
You know, where the whole crowd is doing the chant, but you can tell there's two sides, like there was a delay in the spread of it, you know? Yeah, it's like that. So And so this is how, but they were hot all night long. It just brought everything up a level, really. The crowd is able to do that, though. I mean, if your crowd's super hot, it can bring it up a level. AEW's crowds, for instance, while small, because they're running smaller buildings, it's not a statement on their ticket sales or anything, guys. That's just me saying they're running smaller buildings. So our crowds are between 2,000 and 5,000, but they're supposed to be in these smaller buildings. But they're hot and they bring it up. It doesn't matter how many of them are in there because they're hot, and it's bringing the quality of the product up. But Tony has been very much using shots of the camera coming through the crowd to show us that these are not empty buildings on any side of the building. So, but that's how both companies are experiencing this, and crowds are hot, and it's really, really, the crowds being hot is really raising the level of things. Because, I mean, think about, the Hollywood ending or that cage match from Revolution. If the crowd wasn't as hot as it was, it wouldn't have. I mean, they were great matches, but the crowd did play a part in that 5-star development, because you could lose a whole star for the crowd just being like, "Fuck this," I mean,
yeah.
So anyway, crowd importance in this case super high, because I thought this was kind of a lengthy episode of SmackDown that I didn't really enjoy that much, but there was stuff in it to enjoy, and the crowd made some of these things way more enjoyable than they would have been if we had been in, like, Kalamazoo, Michigan, with 15,000 fans who do not give a shit. We're in Barcelona for the first time in 5 decades or so, and or 4 decades or so, and it's 50, 60,000 people in there, and they are hot. They love their wrestling. They want it back. Like, I like when crowds are this hot, because they're coming back soon. They're going to come back eventually. Oh, yeah. And as much as they've been doing TV from Europe lately, it's been like, I mean, they have done TV arguably 300, 400, 500% more than they ever did during Vince's time as the head of the company in the last 2-3 years.
I honestly don't know why he didn't tap that market as much as they have been doing lately. Like, he would do the one show in England as kind of a tradition every year, usually around April, like soon, like 2 or 3 weeks after WrestleMania, it usually was. But for several years he did that. But I mean, except for the occasional technically foreign Canadian show, like I mean, it kind of seemed like he just didn't want to go outside the United States.
No, it didn't feel, not for TV
for him.
It's like they would do the European tours, but they were never televised. Like, we always got like, oh, this is what happened on our recent tour of Europe, and it's like the picture where all you can see is the ring and the wrestlers in it, and it's like so dark. And
I think he probably wanted it to be live for the East Coast audience. Is all,
yeah, probably. But now, and WWE actually broadcast this live at like 3:00 in the afternoon or whatever, on Netflix for people who have SmackDown on Netflix. Of course, here in the US, we had to wait for it to be on USA. I think this is stupid.
That explains my Blue Sky feed on Saturday.
Kill that, yeah, where everything was Friday, like super early, and then
Friday,
yeah.
Kill. Like, how are they already getting this?
Kill the USA and like CW deal. Kill it dead. Put everything on Netflix, guys, so that when stuff like this happens, you can air it live. I'm off on Fridays. I could have just watched this live. But no, I had to have it almost entirely spoiled for me on Blue Sky by all of our friends. I mean, you guys across the pond are friendly, all right? But you are just like us when it comes to, I get a live show, y'all get one, you spoil it immediately, and then those of us who have to watch it later get to wade through that on Blue Sky when we don't think that's going to happen. Yeah. And I understand how some of my English friends on Blue Sky feel now, where I'm like, okay, guys, well, I mean, if you'll just mute Wrestle Sky until X time, you won't get any spoilers for me, because I'm going to hashtag everything so that you can avoid the hashtag if you need to. But I understand how they feel now, because I had almost this entire show spoiled for me before I got to watch it. But anyway, Cody attacks Miz and then says, you know what? John Cena's not here. He's a big old poos, but I'm going to see him face to face next week in Brussels, Belgium. So, at Raw, we will have John Cena and Cody Rhodes in the same building for the first time since Elimination Chamber. I'm hoping that means ass whippings are going to be handed out. I,
Yeah.
I'm okay with waiting for Mania for the match itself, but let's get some physicality going. I need these guys to hate each other more. Okay, I need it bad. If Cena's gonna be a bad guy, like he needs to start being a bad guy on TV with the quickness, because I'm seeing clips of him where he's rolling around LA and places like that where he's filming and stuff like that, and he's got his black leather jacket on and his dour Cena face, like he's playing a heel. But then somebody off camera will be like, "Hey, what's up, John Cena?" And he's like, "Hey, how you doing?" And then just like keeps walking. But it's like, okay, like, can you be a bad guy for a minute, please? And not just on TV. Like, can you really be a bad guy for a minute? Because even Hogan was telling people to, kick rocks when he was NWO Hogan.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah,
MJF
it's true.
gives the
He
fans the
committed.
finger the regularly. Like they'll hire MJF for a con to do a signing where people are paying $60 to get his autograph, and he's giving you the finger. I would relish in it, but some people don't get it. I mean, uh, but
Yeah.
but yeah, it's weird. Like I'm just not. I knew this was a heel turn, but I'm more pissed off at Travis Scott than I am at John Cena. So anyway, moving on. So Shinsuke Nakamura, when he's not dressed up for the ring, it looks like Japanese Jackson Pollock. It's weird because he
It's
dresses
kind of
like a school
true.
teacher. Kind of a weird, like Archie school teacher. It's weird, but they have him. He's giving a promo. He's talking about how he wants he wants his United States title back, which it didn't even seem to matter to you that much, dog.
Yeah,
But
for real.
he's interrupted by Damian Priest, who's like, well, I kind of want some gold too, so maybe you got to fight me to figure it out. And so they go to this match, Damian Priest versus Shinsuke, and Damian Priest wins by disqualification because this turns out just to be a vehicle to further Damian's feud with Drew McIntyre heading into WrestleMania, because Drew McIntyre comes into the ring in the middle of the match and Claymore kicks Damian's head clean off his shoulders. Um, Nobody does brutal impact in WWE like Drew McIntyre does brutal impact. And not just given it, he also has taken the sickest bumps on WWE television and pay per view in the last like
Especially for a
12
guy
months.
that big.
Yeah, he's a big old
He,
boy and he is
he's
punishing
a
himself.
huge man. And
Yes.
he's still taking those like cruiserweight bumps.
Yeah.
Like,
Like to
it's
the
kind of
small of his
crazy.
back on the corner of a set of stairs inside Hell in a Cell. Like
Yeah.
he's taking the sickest. Like why this man is not in one of the title matches, I don't know. I don't really have a good answer for why not. Because I look how they're promoting and strapping of the rocket back to CM Punk, and how despite losing the Rumble and losing the Chamber, he's still going to have a prominent role at WrestleMania against Roman Reigns and Seth Rollins. But we've kind of downgraded Drew McIntyre despite both of them being like incredibly over from their feud from last year, and still are feeling the positive effects of that feud. But WWE seems to not be giving Drew the same post benefit that CM Punk is getting.
Yeah, I mean, part he's a heel, which doesn't, it doesn't hurt him. It doesn't help him in this case because heels are always kind of going to be on the back foot. You know, you don't make money with heels. You make money on babyface merchandise. Like that kind of thing. It stinks because like the dude is super mega talented,
Mm-hmm.
and you see him just kind of after the hottest feud that WWE had all of 2024, and he's what slumming it now with the mid card crew. Like,
Mm-hmm.
come on, man. He put in the work. You gotta give him something.
Yeah. Now, after that, we have Randy Orton and Carmelo Hayes. Oh, I think right here. Let me check the notes. Okay, right here is where we have the only vignette that I think it's important to talk about in the evening, and that is a short vignette with um Chelsea Green. Now, somebody interrupted this vignette at the end, and they're going to be facing Piper Niven next week. Let me see if I can find a note on that I may have written down somewhere. No, maybe I'm dumb and didn't write it down. Okay, so I forget which ladies wrestler is going to be facing Piper next week, but somebody came in and interrupted this at the end and is going to face Piper now because they want a shot at Chelsea. So, of course, they got to go through the Goon Squad first. Speaking of the Goon Squad, this is where Alba Fire or Isla Dawn, which?
No, Alba Fire.
Okay, that's Alba Fire. So this is where Alba Fire has ended up. She is now also dressing up like a Secret Service agent like Piper does, and they are called the Secret Hervis, which is amazing. Guys, look, Chelsea Green's the best thing on SmackDown right now, okay? And it is she is getting the treatment and is running with this women's US title in the exact opposite way that Lyra Valkyria is getting treated and running with her title on the Intercontinental side. It is as good as that is bad. It's everything it needs to be. Chelsea Green is killing in this role. Piper Niven is hilarious. Adding Alba Fire to it and making her also a Secret Service agent, Secret Hervis agent, hilarious. Calling it the Secret Hervis, fucking fantastic. I don't hate anything about this. I love it. I love this whole thing. So, yeah, right here, this is where we have this vignette. They give them about 3 or 4 minutes. It's pretty good. It's funny. I love it. Then we go into Randy Orton versus Carmelo Hayes. Now, here is where I feel like maybe somebody told Randy Orton that Kyle Fletcher looks like him, and Randy Orton started watching AEW, and then he was like, "Oh, y'all can do that? I can do that too," because this happened a lot. So, in the same way that Brian Cage was catching people and turning them into moves, Randy Orton was catching Carmelo Hayes. He did it no less than twice and turned it into a move. Carmelo Hayes did a springboard off the top rope from the outside and got caught into the power slam, which was pretty great. And then Carmelo Hayes came off the top for his finisher and caught an RKO for his trouble, which of course he did. If you're coming off the top with Randy Orton in the ring, the chances of you catching an RKO are about 75%. So he absolutely caught an RKO.
Matt Sydal.
Yeah. So anyway, during the match, I guess Carmelo was being kind of disrespectful. He was kind of pissing Orton off. At the end of the match, Orton is about to punt Carmelo Hayes, but Kevin Owens saves his life and pulls him out of the ring. And then Kevin Owens brawls with Orton for a minute before he powders out through the crowd, basically. Was a really good match between Orton and Hayes, though. They complement each other pretty well, especially with Hayes being the much smaller man. Like, much smaller than Randy Orton.
Yeah.
Randy Orton is just...
Randy Orton is deceptively tall.
And he looks like he ate Randy Orton in the last couple of years.
What, like 5'9"?
Something like that, 5'10". But dude, Randy Orton is like 6'3" or 6'4" or something like that. But he also looks like in the last couple of years he ate a Randy Orton.
Yeah,
like, seriously.
Yeah, it's exactly how I put it. Randy Orton looks like Randy Orton ate Randy Orton.
Yeah, exactly, dude. Like he's just like doubled in thickness, and he's huge. He's huge. It's like him and Billy Gunn, man. Like they don't age; they just keep getting bigger. It's true.
Yeah. Especially, I mean, if they get injured, that's what they're doing in their time off is working out, getting swole.
So then after that, Gunther comes out. Well, okay, wait. Before this, we have Gunther backstage with Jey Uso. I will talk about this vignette a little bit because Jimmy Uso. So Gunther comes to talk to Jimmy, and he's like, "You need to, you seem like the more mature one of the two, so I need to talk to you. You need to tell your brother to not face me at WrestleMania because I'm going to kill him," basically. At which point Jimmy Uso was like, "I think you got it twisted, Us. Like, first of all, you're going to lose your title. And second of all, I'm going to be right there with my brother outside the ring, yeeting along with him. Have a nice day." And he like just takes off on him.
Yeah.
So it's nice to see that the brothers are at least in full support of each other, if not together as a tag team. But then Gunther comes out and he's like, he's on the mic now and he's like, oh yeah, Jey Uso's a piece of crap. I'm going to beat his ass at WrestleMania, but I'm going to prove to you that I'm not a complete asshole. I'm going to give people a shot when they deserve it. And now our only Spanish in Spain born WWE superstar, Axiom, one half of Fraxium, the NXT Tag Team Champions, appears, and he is from Spain, and so he is now in his home country fighting the World Heavyweight Champion on Netflix, which is pretty cool.
Who else was actually born in Spain?
Hmm.
Glenn Jacobs, Kane. Born in Spain.
He should have stayed there.
I don't think he had much. I think it was a military thing. I don't think he had much choice.
Well, I'm just talking more like, so he wouldn't have ever become mayor of Knox County.
Yeah, they are worse off.
So anyway, Gunther versus Axiom is like just like every match he's had with a lower card guy for the last few weeks. I didn't talk about it last week because we were doing our watch along, but he had a match last week with Otis, which was the highlight of Raw last week. Because of course it was. Also because I love Otis. Also because I love Gunther. Also because of course it was. But this match was just as good. Like Axiom, like I found out later after the fact, I saw a match from like WXW, which I think is the German promotion, where Axiom,
like premier,
where Axiom under a different name, I can't remember what name it was, no mask,
probably A-Kid,
something like that. But he wrestled Walter in WXW, and they had a really great match there. I watched that whole match; it was good. But this one was 10 times better. They took each other to the woodshed. They had a really great fight. Basically, they had a really great match out of it. Of course, Gunther wins. But it took like a close, like a hard, like Stan Hansen level lariat and like 2 power bombs to put Axiom down. So they are already kind of they're already kind of building like a justification for Axiom to be at least a mid-card level champion when he gets to the main roster, because it took 3 of Gunther's finishing maneuvers to put him down in the first place. And he's just one of the NXT Tag Team Champions. And we know how this hierarchy works. So me saying he's just one of their champions, not a big deal. He's an NXT Tag Team Champion. Like on the hierarchy of things, that's a pretty low tier belt. Still, you're a champion at WWE in some capacity.
Power of the home field advantage, man.
Yeah.
It wills you to do things you wouldn't normally be able to.
I guess so. Then Paul Heyman comes out and he does a nice promo, but it's basically leading to Roman Reigns is going to be here next week. So Roman Reigns will be on SmackDown next week to talk about CM Punk and Seth Rollins. I'm assuming. We'll see. I mean, this is the weird one, because Punk and Rollins are both on Raw and Roman Reigns is on SmackDown, and we're about to have a 3-way at WrestleMania. So are all 3 of these guys going to be on both shows along with Cody and Cena probably?
Like I said, they only care about the brand split until they don't.
So. Yeah. So then after that, we've got our WWE. We have a WWE Tag Team Championship match between DIY and the Street Profits. So we're finally here at this. I thought we weren't going to get this till WrestleMania, and I thought it was going to be like 4 or 5 teams, maybe a gauntlet type thing or a ladder match or something, because of how many legitimate contenders SmackDown has rolled out in terms of the tag team championships. I mean, there is 5 teams I can name off the top of my head who could justifiably be SmackDown tag team champions right now, because they've built up so many good competitive teams. My gripe here is that regardless of how many teams they've built up, DIY is still the best one. They are the FTR of WWE. They're They're the guys with all the experience. They're the guys who are the best in the ring. They're the best tag team in WWE. Yes, I'm including the Motor City Machine Guns. Still, DIY has the leg up here. And the Street Profits take the win and are now tag team champions. So WWE treats them like they're FTR also. So honestly,
it's funny, but it's not.
it's not though. That's the problem. It's funny, but it's not.
I mean, they have to lose the belt. They have to put somebody over eventually. I mean,
I'm really
that's the
hoping.
nature of wrestling. But like, yeah, it sucks to see unrealized potential.
Like, so for me, here's the deal. This made the show end on a sour note. I wasn't really big on the match itself. I thought it just kind of brought the show down a level, just the whole match. And then the ending just kind of further because I wasn't really into it. This is really besides besides the Drew and Damian thing, this is really the only thing I didn't really like about the show, except for the runtime. Because really, man, this ending at the end of 3 hours, I was just like, like I hate this, you know.
I think you would probably have to admit though that the Street Profits are over, and they probably gave the crowd that was there something. I mean, they gave them a title switch.
The crowd was hot, so I mean, they didn't.
So,
they enjoyed
it probably, right?
Yeah, they enjoyed it. It's just me being like, I'm not into this ending, and we're at the end of a 3-hour show that I'm like not really into watching 3 hours.
It's tough when you have an opinion that's a little bit outside the mainstream, because you can't enjoy those kinds of things as much as like the live crowd. I mean, and let's be real here, the majority of WWE fans are probably more what you would generally describe as casuals. I hate using that word because it sounds a little derisive. I don't mean it to sound condescending, but like, they don't. I don't think they're that as a whole. The people who go to the shows for WWE are as diehard on the internet,
no,
and have those kinds of opinions as other companies' fan bases do. Like AEW's fan base is almost entirely online. I would imagine. Like it's the same people who are driving the AEW, the positive AEW anyway, discourse, are entirely chronically online like the two of us are.
Yeah.
I don't think I can say that with WWE's fan base. I think the percentage of their fans that at least go to the shows, if not watch altogether, I think a much lower percentage of them are the chronically online type.
Yeah.
And a lower percentage of them are the loud partisan hacks.
Yeah.
So
a much smaller
those
percentage.
are the people that I can't really stand. But
I don't like partisan hacks on either side of the fence.
No, me neither.
It makes me
but
mad.
At least I can.
When they're like, "Oh, this great thing AEW did, WWE could never." No, they could. They just didn't. AEW did it.
The only caveat that I see is that I don't like the partisan stuff on either side, but at least with the diehard AEW fans, at least they're punching up. I don't like punching down. It always seems like bullying to me. Whereas punching up, at least, even if it's not always 100% accurate, at least it seems like you're punching somebody who can take the punch and who probably deserves it. Punching up is usually preferable in my mind than punching down.
Yeah.
Usually when you're punching down, it's at somebody who doesn't necessarily deserve to be so harshly criticized.
I mean, in this case, it's more for me. It's more of a y'all are punching up at a company that's never going to feel the effect of it. The only people that are going to feel the effect of it are the fans who's who you're.
I 100% agree with that assessment. Absolutely. So. Just because you punch up at the big powerful company, whatever it is, doesn't matter with wrestling. Doesn't mean they're gonna feel it.
Nope.
I mean, it has to be the right kind, the right timing. It has to have reached the right audience. Have to have the momentum and the numbers behind it. Like there are all sorts of factors that weigh in. But like, you know, yeah, generally speaking, the big companies, corporations, they can sweat that small criticism because, what are you going to do to them, really? In most, like 99.9 bar percent of cases. Oh, you made fun of us online. Oh, okay. We're still going to go make our $1 billion in Saudi blood money with or without you. So,
That's true. And I mean, I'm not beyond making fun of WWE because they've done some boneheaded shit, but it's just all we're doing is negatively affecting each other
yeah.
as fans instead
Yeah,
of
don't take
the
it
company.
take it out on them, but
Yeah.
don't take it out on each other.
Be mad at Vince for being a scumbag. Don't be mad at me for watching a product he has nothing to do with anymore. I mean, yeah, there's probably people there that had something to do with that shit. They'll get sussed out in these lawsuits and they'll probably be dismissed because TKO seems to, aside from Dana White, at least understand that a little bit.
Oh, they're just allergic to bad press. That's all it
Yeah,
is.
yeah. I need Dana White to get some more bad press so that he can go too. But
You think he would have gotten it after he slapped his
you
wife on
would
New
think
Year's Eve,
so.
but no, but
You'd think,
in
man.
public,
Yeah, in public
several
especially.
times, multiple times.
Yeah. So I don't know. But what I do know is that I don't like this 3 hour runtime. And I don't like the fact that Drew McIntyre seems to have been pushed like further down the card. Even though he should be benefiting from that feud as much as CM Punk is. So other than that though, everything seems to be good. It's just that runtime really takes it out of me, man. Um, planning on my ass for 3 hours on a Friday evening. My first day off of the week. After I've gotten all my like errands and stuff done, and then I'm kind of forced to sit there and watch this 3 hour program that, by the end of it, I'm like, I don't want to watch this. Like, ugh, you know.
It's a lot.
And even if I enjoy it at the beginning, because usually I'll go into it hyped up, and by the time it's over, it's 3 hours later, and I'm like, oh god, I need a nap. Um,
Yeah.
so I don't know. I don't know where they're going with this tag division thing, but I hope it's towards Pretty Deadly because they really, if we're gonna have the most fun out of this division, it needs to be Pretty Deadly, like by a lot.
You know, you know what I would do if I was booking is I would, in the lead up to WrestleMania, what we have, like, what, 5-6 weeks,
Mm-hmm.
right? Have a bunch of tag team title matches and have every single one of those teams at some point win the belts. Just hot potato it all around to all of them. And then throw it up in the air in a big tag team ladder match at WrestleMania to determine, like, that way everybody gets their hands on it, has a claim to it, and can say they're former champions and haven't been before. And then whoever wins that has a nice long, like, 6-7 month reign
That
to
would be
kind of
fantastic,
ease
actually.
things out.
Yeah,
Kind of like, okay, this is hot potatoing right now, but it's for a purpose
yeah,
to set this up, and whoever wins this is going to have a dominant run.
yeah.
That's what I would do with it.
I would do that too.
Because
Actually, that sounds great.
that sounds to me, that seems like an exciting way to do it. Because if you give the belts to every single one of those teams, then heading into that match, it's logistically plausible that literally any of those teams could win it
Mm-hmm.
because they all already have.
That's fair. I'd like to see it. I don't know what they're gonna do though. That's still kind of an unclear part of how WrestleMania is gonna go. Is what they're doing with tag titles on both sides. So maybe they got 5 weeks to build it. Let's see what happens. Hopefully,
I mean,
something
I
like
think
that. I would
probably
really like the ladder match part.
if I had to guess, I'd say on Raw, New Day is probably going to be in there somewhere.
I'm assuming that New Day is going to beat the War Raiders for the titles at WrestleMania.
Yeah.
I don't want
I
that to
mean, it's
happen,
not
but I'm
like
sure that's what's going to
not
happen.
like they're doing anything with War Raiders,
No,
really.
no, they won the titles, and all they've done really is get attacked by
They
and
defended a
return
couple
attacks on
times.
New Day and stuff, and so like it really hasn't been anything going on.
Yeah, they're just stretching it out until the New Day can take the belt off them.
Yeah, basically, and the New Day's being shown to be dominant in certain situations, so that it's believable if they win. So I guess we'll see how that goes. Yeah. So I enjoyed it, but it's still running long. That's pretty much the long and short of it. It's running long.
When are they going back to 2 hours? Have they
They
set a
haven't said as
date?
far as I know. And I don't like that. I need to know when, so I can be like, this is it.
They did say that they were going to go back
Yeah, they
eventually,
did say
though,
that.
right? Yeah.
Yes,
So,
yeah. I remember Triple H saying something like, "Yeah, we're gonna go. It is gonna go back to 2 hours eventually, but not right now." So we'll see when that's gonna be.
well, Triple H wouldn't lie now, would
Oh, he definitely would. He's a wrestler. They'll all lie.
he? They're all
Yes, even your favorite one, who you think won't lie and is a choir boy, he will lie to you too. Um, for all of y'all folks out there going, not X person. Yes, him too. Yes, yes. So with that said, let's take it to the hot tag and let's talk about some collision.
Cool. All right. So, the hot tag AEW Collision. The Ides of March 3/15/25. From the theater at the Virgin Hotels in Las Vegas. This theater was awesome. Another great venue that I definitely want. Like I love them going to all these little cool hole in the wall venues. Like I mean, this is Las Vegas. There's no hole in the wall in Vegas,
Yeah.
but like this is, a nice like what 2,000-3,000 seat or something like that. But like it looked great. I love when they go to theaters and so they can put like the little short thing. They're on a real stage and like I just love it. First and it opens up with the little mini promos and it starts first one with Ricochet. He's like, oh, it looks like you're not going to take up my offer to forfeit. So I guess I'm just going to have to go out there and embarrass you and show you why I'm out of this world. And Shibata is shown next, and it's literally like 3 seconds long. He just used his translator app to say "Shut up, Baldy." Oh, it's so
Dude,
good.
I love it. The
And
ball
there are
abuse is
other
never gonna
ones
stop.
too. There are other ones too, but that was the best one. Um, so we open up with Ricochet versus Katsuyori Shibata, and it was great. Like I know I keep beating this drum. Like Ricochet, Trevor. I don't like Trevor, but I like Ricochet a lot.
Yeah.
And I feel very conflicted over it. But like he is doing just such excellent work. Like I don't think anybody thought that there was this kind of character in him, and he's just doing great, just little smarmy heel cuck work. Like it's just and Shibata's like the perfect opponent for him too, because he's like legitimately tough, and he kept doing his Shibata thing where he no sells all the strikes and everything while they're sitting in the ring. There's a one point where he teases doing the drop kick in the corner, that gorgeous, just like hang time forever drop kick in the corner, and like he really ramped up for it too, like really really got into it, and then he just, instead of jumping, he like jumps right in front of him and then just smacks the top of Ricochet's head. This open palm. It was like, oh my god, I love this man so much. Shibata is so great. This was great. There was lots of stuff like that, that character kind of comedic stuff just riddled in there. And they did protect Shibata here, because even though he lost, Ricochet's feet were on the ropes during it. So like I would rather they not have teased Shibata versus Kenny Omega if they weren't going to deliver on it.
Yeah.
But I mean, that doesn't mean they're not going to book that match somewhere down the line. I would very much like to see that match.
Yeah.
Very much would like to see it with the international title on the line. But we won't get it here. Ricochet steals the win. And just like hightails it.
Yeah.
Um, ugh. Tony Storm cuts a backstage promo. She's like, I mean, it's very Las Vegas themed. Nothing again, like it's entertaining in its own right. She says that Megan Bain is like, oh, you wanted it in there. She compared it to a hammerhead. I'm not sure why a hammerhead specifically. I think the most obvious one would have been a great white, but I'll give her the credit. She went with hammerhead. Um, she want if you want to be the hammerhead, I can make shark fin soup. For the record, I get what she's saying. I'm not in favor of shark finning. Please do not do that. Don't, as somebody who worked with seafood for a decade and a half and seen what that does to the industry and does to the the ecology of especially the South Pacific Ocean, don't don't do that. Don't cut off the fins and throw out they're natural and important parts of their ecosystem. Don't be a jerk, guys.
Yeah.
I'm sure literally zero of our listeners are
Or
in
shark
any way
fingers.
even are shark finners. But please, if you were thinking about it, don't please. Uh, anyway, my eco rant end. Powerhouse Hobbs versus Griff Garrison was next. Haven't seen Griff on Dynamite or Collision in a minute.
Yeah.
Doesn't look any different.
Yeah, when they said his name, I popped my head up. I was like, "What?
It's like
Griff
he's still
Garrison?"
here. Brock Anderson is not here, but Griff is still here somehow. Um, he's with a new faction, the Frat House, and this is where I gotta this is where I gotta be a little critical because I know it's kind of a collective universe and everything, but Tony needs to do better with introducing acts that are probably established on ROH into AEW and then just treating them like everybody knows who they are
Yeah, because
and
I
what their
don't.
deal is. The last time I saw Jack Jameson, he was with the Iron Savages. And obviously we know what happened to Boulder.
Yeah.
Uh I guess those charges were dropped, but I'm not buying it.
I don't think he'll be back anyway.
I
So
don't think so either. I think it's too much of a risk. But point is that like it wasn't that long ago that they were there
mhm.
as a thing, as the Iron Savages, as a stable as opposed to just a tag team. And so now Jack Jameson is with the Frat House, which is Griff Garrison and Preston Vance, who last time we saw him
Was with
was
LFI.
with LFI, and then he got injured, and then they revamped LFI without him, and he isn't. And they're on TV as, oh, this is the Frat House, but they don't introduce them. They don't explain what they've been doing. They don't explain how they got together. They don't explain anything.
Nope. Not
They're
a
just
thing.
there for Powerhouse Hobbs to squash somebody. And I mean, there's value in that, especially since he came through the audience, like all the way down the middle aisle, which I thought was cool, different for him. It was a heck of a visual, let me tell you. But like, why were we supposed to care? Like, I know that I don't want to be too critical, but like, the only reason I know that the Frat House exists is because I stumbled upon an ROH clip like 2 weeks ago or something, and it was like, oh yeah, Griff Garrison is with Jack Jameson. Like it's like, okay, are you gonna? And then they showed up here, and I'm like, are you gonna explain what this is?
No,
No,
Jack
they're the Frat
Jameson. That's the
House.
guy that did the Titty City thing and all that, right?
Yes.
I hate that guy.
Yeah. Well, he set it up. He wasn't the one who he it. It wasn't the city on
He's the
his
mic
chest.
guy, right?
He's the mic
Yeah,
guy
I
that
freaking
can
hated that
probably
guy.
barely wrestle.
Yeah, I
Um,
hated that guy.
but yeah, I mean, it was weird. Like, I would if you're gonna bring in guys to do jobs, that's fine. But if they're in a collective, please and they've not been on TV before as in that. Please explain that
Yeah,
because this was weird and I didn't get it.
yeah. Kind of like when they brought the
Um,
Kingdom in, and, like they explained to us who that
yeah,
was and why they were important, and
yeah,
but more people knew who they were also. Like So if you're gonna go
Yeah.
and give the important people that we already kind of know who they are, like if you're gonna be like, hey, like we know who Taven and Bennett are, but we're gonna explain who the Kingdom is. Like, how about give us that same treatment with the guys we don't know who the hell that is? Like,
Yeah.
oh hey, this is this faction. Explain. Please spend the 30 cursory seconds explaining it like you did with people like the Kingdom or the Undisputed
Yeah.
Era or whatever. Like give us something. Especially if they're on
Yeah.
ROH, because please, guys, like look at your own numbers and understand that a lot of us, as much as we love you, we are not paying for ROH Club, okay?
Yeah.
Because I'm not.
It's just it's I don't know. It is what it is.
It is. I'm not trying
Anyway,
to be negative. I
after the
love ROH as an entity, but I don't. I
yeah,
don't like that
uh,
they paywalled the show. Like, dude, put it on YouTube. You'll probably
yeah.
make
I
more
mean,
money if you just put it on YouTube.
with the
Yeah,
ads
with
and
the ad
everything,
money and
yeah,
stuff they did for
probably.
free.
Yeah,
Yeah, absolutely. Like more people would watch it for damn sure.
absolutely, they would watch it for free.
Yeah, all day long.
Especially since that way they can do it at their own leisure. You can break that. You can get more ads from more videos. So if you do the whole show as one thing and then break it up by match by match by match, you're just multiplying the ads that are on
Yeah,
there.
yeah. They could
So
pimp that butterfly all day long. They could like really exponentially make each episode worth more money than it is probably worth right now.
yeah,
But beyond that, like I'm not gonna pay. Like I don't. I'll watch an ROH pay per view once in a while. Like if Athena's gonna main event, I might grab it. But other than
yeah,
that, I'm not paying the monthly to watch the show. Because it just hasn't been
yeah,
good enough for me to pay to watch it. Like
yeah. The pay per views tend to be really, really, really good, but from what I understand, the TV just doesn't really support it.
no, it doesn't. It
So
doesn't. And Chris Jericho being the champion, even in the environment of the TV as it sits, does not make any sense. Like I get
no,
why it makes sense in like Tony's mind, but it doesn't make sense.
yeah,
There's
practically speaking,
yeah, practically speaking.
no, pragmatically, it doesn't really. I mean, and there's still time for us to be proven wrong. If they get a TV deal off the back of Jericho being the champion, then okay, fine,
Yeah,
maybe it was worth it. But it would have to be a pretty good deal on a channel that everybody has access to.
it's gonna
Like,
need to be at least a TNA level deal.
yeah,
Yeah, at least a TNA level TV deal where I as a regular person with regular cable or where I subscribe to from pretty much every major streaming service there is. I should have access to it somewhere. I've got access to all my WWE stuff somewhere. I've got access to all the AEW content somewhere.
yeah,
Give me ROH on some platform. Like, dude, look, you know how desperate
Max
people are
is
for
right
wrestling
there.
content? Yeah, Max is right there. You could probably work that into the deal. Before Evolve was on there, you probably could have taken this to Tubi and they would have taken it.
Yeah,
But there's others. There's the Pluto. There's Hulu could use some wrestling content. Like, I bet Hulu would kill for their own like
yeah. At this
non
point, Hulu's
WWE
probably a
wrestling
really good
content.
fit, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah,
ROH would be perfect for Hulu, man. Like, so, and then I know
yeah,
you got the connections in business, Tony, to talk to somebody who can talk to somebody. So,
yeah.
I mean,
Anyway, Frat House looks like they're gonna jump Hobbs afterwards, but then of all people, the Outrunners come to make the save. And I'm cool with the Outrunners being on TV, but like, why Hobbs?
yeah, like, what? Like, it's just weird that this
Like,
is the
to be
save.
fair, Hobbs looked like he was having a ball with the Outrunners. He looked like he was really liking the idea of hamming it up with them. But like,
Yeah.
I don't understand why they would come out and save him, especially from a bunch of
Jobbers.
guys who look up at the lights at the end of the day.
Yeah, like
So
why would Hobbs need to be saved from those three guys? First of all, like I mean, I
I
know
don't know.
there's three of them, but it's
He dispatched
Hobbs.
them pretty quickly
It's
and easily.
Hobbs.
Yeah.
Um, my thing is like, despite that, I really like face Hobbs. I like Hobbs
Yeah.
having fun and not being like an uptight dickwad because it's like it's translating to his social media also because he was kind of a dickhead on Twitter back before the injury and during the injury process, like when we were like, hey man, we like the only time we ever like he ever like what positively interacted with me before he came back from the injury was when he was like mid-injury gone, and I was like, man, we would really like to see you back. I hope you're getting better and coming back soon. And he liked that and was like, thank you. But
Yeah.
before that, he was like a complete like when he was playing a heel on
Oh,
TV, he was a dickhead on Twitter. And
yeah.
now he's like fun on
They took it
Twitter.
to the hill. Yeah.
Yeah, now he's fun on TV. I like fun Hobbs, man.
Yeah. And him having fun doesn't detract from the danger that he presents. So like, if you play your cards right, you don't have to have your big, brawny guys have fun and be complete doofuses
Yeah.
and have them suffer. You can have them have it enhance their character by saying, "Hey, look, this guy can have fun, but don't tick him off."
Yeah. No.
you know. After that, Thunder Rosa is back, and the backstage interviews were great too because they were in like this Las Vegas. It must have been part of a casino or something or a hotel because like all the interviews were in like these like swanky little suites and stuff like that. It was much different than the we're surrounded by pipes and equipment and sports locker rooms that are just made up on the spot. Like it was very cool. But yeah, Thunder Rosa is being interviewed backstage, but she gets attacked by Megan Bayne and punted right in the ribs. And this would be a running thread throughout the show too. They'd come back and check on her with another interview later, and she's like, "Don't talk to the doctor about if I'm cleared. I'm going out there regardless of what they say
Because I got bigger ovaries.
Yeah, bigger. She said it was.
It was weird what she said right
bigger
here.
ovaries than you have brain
Then
cells.
you have brain cells.
But every woman's ovaries
are
bigger than the biggest
cells.
brain cell of anybody.
Yeah.
So I don't know what she meant by that.
I think maybe that one might have got a little bit lost in translation on her end.
Probably. Like if she said my ovaries are bigger than your brain.
There we go. Yeah, see, that's where I think she might have lost it a little bit.
But brain cells, cells are not big.
I feel like it's the same way that Moxley. We'll talk about that in a minute with the end of his promo where he did the thing with Cope.
Yeah. Yeah, the international championship eliminator tournament final match. Mark versus Mark.
Yeah, the Marks. So we got the Mark matches.
Oh, hi, Marks. All over again. Mark Davis versus Mark Briscoe. If you haven't seen AEW with Mark Davis, it just dropped.
It was fantastic.
On Sunday.
It was fantastic.
It was really illuminating, and he seems like a really cool dude.
He does. Actually. I really wish he wasn't a heel, because he does seem like a cool dude. And the funniest part about it is that Mark Davis has the best answer ever for how to handle appreciation from the gay community despite not being gay.
Yeah.
Mark Davis, if you don't know how to answer the appreciation you're receiving if you are not gay from the gay community, please see Mark Davis's AEW answer on how to gracefully handle it, even if you're uncomfortable. I don't think he is, but I think that was the best way to handle it, period. Like, he was like, I love that. It makes me feel good about myself because it should.
Yeah, it's flattering.
It is, yeah. Because it should.
I don't need that attention, and I feel sad that, they're not going to get that attention back from me, but like, it's flattering either way.
Right?
I like the fact that he admits in his own words that he has a big dumper.
Oh God!
I think it's
Mark Big Back Davis, and it's totally different Big Back than Raquel.
What a freaking mensch!
The man is like our men's version of Tony Storm with the body heavy or the bottom heaviness. Okay, like he is.
Tony got thick.
Yeah. But yeah, it's the same thing. Like Mark Davis, like he's thick with 3 C's, man.
Yeah. But as far as the match goes, it was. I mean, they really, unsurprisingly, really laid into each other with the strikes.
Oh, it was brutal.
Like, it was pretty awesome. Mark Davis does the pile driver that they actually talk about in AEW as well. That like as they brought up in that episode, it defies physics. Like, how does he hit that pile driver? It's amazing.
It is.
Um, it's like, I guess you would call it like a standing heat seeker. I guess, kind of, if you want to call it, like, because unlike the heat seeker, which is like the pendulum over the middle rope, he does it like it looks like he's gonna be back body drop, but he just hangs on and then comes down with the pile driver while the opponent's head is already between his legs.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like a standing heat seeker.
Yeah. Okay.
Um,
Okay. I can be on board with that name because I don't know what else to call it. To be honest with you,
I don't know what else to call it either.
Tell me what to call it, Mark Davis, please.
Yeah. And actually, this match kind of ends in a little bit of an upset. Mark Davis takes advantage of some outside interference from Lance Archer, but he actually gets the win on Mark Briscoe. Like, did not see that coming. I'm glad they threw a little bit of unpredictability in there, and it still makes sense from a narrative standpoint because you got, you know, a callous family member in this thing, possibly to go on to continue with Kenny Omega, and so the story can be like, as the before the match even starts, Omega can be watching like, ugh, am I gonna have to deal with Don Callis even more? Like, I thought I finished this crap. Like, there's potential there. Murder Machines, they just kill 4 guys after that. Like, they said it was 4 guys, but it was only 3. I don't know where the 4th one went. Presumably, they murdered him in the back.
Question.
What?
Did you think a couple of these guys looked a little familiar? Like maybe one of them looked a little bit like Ricky Starks and one of them looked a little bit like Penta.
I mean, I knew one of the...
that one guy definitely looked a little bit like Penta. The other guy...
But I didn't make that connection, no.
Yeah, I thought... Because I was like, is that Penta? Because like I saw the upper body thing and I was like, did they get some of Penta's gear? Did he like leave some in the locker room on his way out or something? And this guy, and then like I see this shot like looking into the ring, and there's a guy laid out down there, and he's like, his gear looks like Ricky Stark's gear, and I was like, now I mean, okay, it would be funny, and it wouldn't be the first time a wrestling company had done something like this, where they brought out a guy that kind of looked like somebody who just left and did wild things to them.
Obvious about it, I think.
Yeah.
I mean, WWE has been.
Oh, they will be. Yeah, they would be way more obvious about it. I mean, so like, I just don't know.
This is the company that came out the day after Survivor Series '97 with a little person dressed as Bret Hart. So I mean,
yeah. So they would.
They're not exactly masters of subtle jabs. They're about as subtle as Mike Tyson.
Yeah, so but like I was like, okay, this is a squash. There's not even going to be a match here. And then
like, and it wasn't.
Oh wait, that guy kind of looks like Penta. Like, oh, what the heck's going on? But other than that, I was like, okay, it's just a squash, no big deal. Like,
yeah, it's a squash, and then Mark Briscoe comes back looking for revenge with a chair, but they beat him down, and then Powerhouse Hobbs is back, and they all brawl the back. But no outrunners to save Hobbs. I don't understand. Like, too many fingers and too many pies here.
Yeah, way too many.
Swerve is out here. Sans Prince Nana. He comes to the ring, says that Nana is, taking care of his robe. I don't know why he needs to stay at home for that.
He's got a warrant in the state of whatever for selling weed in the parking lot.
There were several days. It was almost an entire week between the last time that we saw Nana for him to hide his robe. So I don't know why he couldn't make it on Saturday.
Actually, you know what? I have a good explanation for that. You ever try to take a patch the size of that 8 thing off of a garment?
Oh, I forgot.
Because my God, it is a pain in the ass process to get rid of something like that. So yeah, I could
seam ripper.
Yeah, and just sit there for hours. Okay. Just it's a pain in the ass. So okay,
and you don't want to destroy the original garment.
Yeah. So to be safe with the it would take days. It would literally.
I hadn't thought of that, but you're probably
there. We go. We see this is why we do well, because like when we don't understand something, the other one can provide some context and justification to be like, okay, maybe this is why.
Yeah,
and it
we could
makes
work it out.
sense. Yeah.
Yeah.
See.
But yeah, Swerve is out there and he's alone, and uh he has a great line where he says to compete for the AEW World Title, you need to be great. To win it, you need to be elite. And I do think that that statement holds up to scrutiny. If you look back, I don't think there's been a single person who's held that belt that hasn't been considered elite at the time that they won the belt.
I mean, they've only had like 9 champions or something, right? Like
Yeah,
9 to
and 4 of
10.
them have been Moxley.
Yeah. So, and I mean, the other ones that I can think of off the top of my head, like Jericho when he was hot, like the
Yep.
Le Champion era was pretty hot.
Yep. Then it was Moxley, and then it was
I mean,
Omega
Omega for a long time, yeah.
for almost a year.
And then
And
Hangman won it
then
very shortly.
Hangman.
And then
Yep.
MJF, I'm pretty sure won it.
Nope.
No,
Punk.
Punk won it.
Punk.
Oh yeah. But
Punk.
then he got injured.
Moxley. Punk. Stripped, goes to Moxley, then goes to MJF for over a year.
Yeah.
Then goes to Samoa Joe, then to Swerve, then to Bryan Danielson, then back to Mox.
And the only one like of that the one that makes the least sense of those is Joe, but if you look at it in action, the Joe title reign was fantastic. So
yeah,
it
was short, but it was good.
Short, but it was worth every second of it.
Yeah.
I want Samoa Joe to win the title again before he's gone.
Me too.
And I think that he's still badass enough to do it. So,
like, I don't think it was ever in the cards for him to win it in the first place, but the injury to MJF forced the issue.
mm-hmm.
And then once he won it, I don't think it was ever in the cards to hand it to Swerve, but his momentum became undeniable, and they had to do it that way too. So it was kind of like the whole reign, despite being good, was kind of an accident on both ends of it.
Yeah,
it was kind of just he happened to be there in the right place
at the right time. Yeah. And then I mean,
and that's not to say he wasn't deserving. I love Samoa Joe. I'm a huge Samoa Joe fan, and I hope he does. I mean, there's so many guys in this company that I hope win the world title, but Tony Khan, to his credit, has been very picky and very choosy about who gets to wear that. Not everybody gets a turn.
Mm-mm.
You know, this isn't the Democratic National Convention. Okay. So can you tell I'm still sour over 5 years or 9 years ago? Anyway, but he Swerve is in the ring and blah blah blah. Moxley comes out of nowhere and kneecaps him with a crowbar.
Oh yeah.
And then Swerve had talked about how he had ruptured his eardrum or broken or something. And so Mox goes ahead and gives him a big old curb stomp right on that ear, which was, gnarly. And the cameras follow him out to the outside of the building where there's the ambulance, which I'm sure was mandated by the health commission because
you have to have
states do. And he's like, "Oh, you all suck."
This wasn't a very inspired promo. I mean,
no, it wasn't. And he looked like a cat burglar.
Yeah, he did. He looked like that girl from Recess.
Yeah, I'm kind of like over Mox like walking like a chimpanzee,
like a gorilla. Yeah,
yeah. Like, what's the deal with his shoulders? Like, why does he always walk like this?
I don't know.
Like, it makes him stand out. So I'm not like completely getting down on it. I don't want to be a hypocrite from what I said earlier.
I gotta make myself big.
But like, why does he's already 6'4". He doesn't need to be any bigger than he is.
Gotta make myself bigger.
But why does he walk like that?
I don't know, man, and it bothers me because I'm like, what? He's
a weirdo.
You? Like, do you
I mean, maybe it's so that we think he's a weirdo.
Maybe, but
maybe it's so that he gives off this air of, oh, don't go near that guy. That guy's a psycho. It's definitely working.
He even walks in an untrustworthy manner.
Yes. Yes. Doesn't walk like us humans. What is going on?
What's wrong with that guy?
So next match is Top Flight Hologram versus the Infantry and Lee Moriarty. This was fun. I mean, nothing like super special. It was nice to see Hologram doing double duty this week.
Yeah.
That was kind of cool, and it's good to see Top Flight back.
Yeah.
They were
Doing
gone
anything.
from TV for like 3 or 4 weeks.
Well, I mean,
Uh,
they
and
don't.
it's nice to see them get a win here
Yeah.
too. And the finish was great too. They kicked Carly Bravo. What's his face? Darius kicked Carly Bravo right in the chest
Ugh.
as he had Dante was German suplexing him. Covers him for the win. Like it was, and they were staring down crew who were on the stage watching the whole thing. So they were staring daggers right at Action Andretti and Leo Rush. Can we please hurry that up though? Like I want to see
I
that match.
I want to
Like
see
that
the
match
match
is going to
now
be
because
good. I want to see it.
I feel like the angle's just not landing.
The angle is being drawn out too long.
Yeah, it's too
The
long.
angle is
Yeah.
fine. The angle is fine.
It's like we
The
all
problem is
know that
they've
the result
drawn
of
it
this
out
is
over
going to
3
be.
months.
We all know the
This
result
is a
is gonna
1 month
be.
angle being drawn out over 3 months.
Yes.
Is the problem.
Yes, and we all know the result
That's
is going
the
to be a
problem.
banger tag match. We all
Yeah,
know.
I want to see that
And
match.
that's what
Just
we
give me the match already.
just do it. Like we don't gotta wait till Double or Nothing or Dynasty or any like just give it to us on a random Dynamite.
Yeah.
Please.
I would love to see that match, Tony. Please give it to me.
Yeah.
I want it. Like,
You can make it the first of 3. We can drag out 3 matches until a pay-per-view where the third match can happen, but go ahead and give us those other 2 like now.
yeah.
Okay?
Like, great. I would love that. But yeah, Megan Bain versus Thunder Rosa is your semi-main. I think it was semi-main. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
I think so.
semi-main.
Yeah.
And this was great actually. I thought like I know it didn't really get like it was much more storyline driven than it was like content action driven. But I thought Thunder Rosa looked really good. You know, she was nursing the ribs the whole time, but she still looked like a fiery underdog that still had a chance.
Mm-hmm.
But at the end of the day, Megan Bain just was too much for her. Like I thought, honestly, she gave her the Fate's Descent on the outside, and it was almost a count out. And as soon as she walked back in, she gave it to her again for the win. And I thought, honestly, like I thought that match did everything it needed to do. I thought it gave Thunder Rosa kind of an out. You know, you always kind of need to give your baby faces an out, even against monster heels, especially against monster heels, really, because baby faces are supposed to overcome. But you know, with the injury beforehand and her fighting from underneath, it gave a real nice story to the. It was the only story that ran through the whole episode. For the record, was the women's story.
Mm-hmm.
Was this story here? I thought she did a great job from fighting underneath. She made Megan Bain look like $1,000,000. Like, I know there are questions surrounding Thunder Rosa and if she's hard to work with and who she has issues with and all this stuff. I thought she did her job so well in this match. I thought she was, you know, I think she more than redeemed herself for the incident with the chair a couple of weeks ago. Oh boy, was that awkward! But I think she really, really redeemed herself here.
Mm-hmm.
More than that, really, she did a really, really good job. Megan Bain just keeps looking like a world beater. Like she looks, and she would continue to do that because after the match, she picks up Rosa in an over the shoulder backbreaker. They called it an Argentine backbreaker, but that's not what it was. It was a Canadian backbreaker. Argentine backbreaker is the torture rack, guys. Canadian backbreaker is the over the shoulder one. And so she does that, but Tony Storm, who I thought, you know, considering the pre-tape, I thought she wasn't here, but she was here,
Mm-hmm.
and she was like, "Oh!" And the crowd popped huge for her, and she was there to make the save. She goes right at her, but yeah, she eats Fate's Descent too. Like, and she's just like, Chris Statlander's here to help, you know, kind of recover Thunder Rosa. Luther is here to kind of recover Tony Storm, and they do this cool bit where Luther picks up Tony in his arms and like carries her off, and then Chris Statlander sees that, and she's like, "Oh, maybe that's what we're doing." So she picks up Thunder Rosa the same way. I don't know if they were trying to play that for comedy or if it was something that she forgot that they were gonna do and she was reminded. I don't know. I don't care. I loved it.
Yeah,
It was
good.
fantastic. It was great. It was great. A little tiny bit of comedy on the end of our tragedy sandwich there.
Yeah.
But the main event, uh, Undisputed Kingdom versus FTR. No notes. This was amazing. FTR, guys. FTR is back. After I don't know what they're doing with FTR.
Oh,
Like,
neither.
it looked like they were gonna have him aligned with Cope, and I was for sure that they were gonna take the trios title off the in
That
the
may
lead up
still
to
yet
Cope's
happen.
match with like it looked like that was where they were going, and then FTR was just off TV for like a month with no explanation, no bills, no story, no nothing. And then they were getting into it with the Death Riders. They were getting kidnapped by the Death Riders and having to fight back. And then all of a sudden they're in this weird feud with the Undisputed Kingdom for no reason. I'm happy with the matches that we've been given, but I have no clue how we got here storyline wise. And I have no clue why they're not helping Cope, why they haven't been helping him this whole time, why they haven't been like too many stop start with questions with the FTR situation. I just I hate their booking storyline wise, but I loved the booking of this match. Uh, Everybody came out looking like it was really one of those matches where it could have gone either way, and it looked like it was going to a bunch of times. Um, at the end though, Shatter Machine to Roderick Strong. Well, I thought it was going to be Kyle. Kyle usually takes the pins. They're
Mm-hmm.
usually protecting Roddy a little bit more, probably because he was a former international champion.
Yeah.
But this one, Roddy took the pin from the Shatter Machine after like the third time that it had been teased, and this time it wasn't reversed or avoided or whatever. Um, Adam Cole, but the probably the best part, as good as the wrestling was, probably the best part was the fact that they had Adam Cole and Daniel Garcia on commentary taking passive aggressive jabs at each other the entire time.
Yeah,
Like
that part was
that, I
pretty
mean,
good.
that added so much to the presentation of this match. Like this was the this is a really good main event. You should definitely seek it out if you haven't already seen it.
Yeah.
Afterwards, Adam Cole, as soon as the pin is hit, he rips off his headset and goes to check on his friends. And Danny Garcia's like, "Yeah, where you going? Where you going?" He takes off his headset and goes there. They're all in the ring together, and Adam Cole offers his hand to Garcia, and he takes it in good faith. And they shake hands. But when Kyle and Roddy extend their hands to FTR, even though they won, FTR still are like, "Nah, brah," and they just beat it. And they're all gesturing from the ramp. We're 1-1, and we want one more.
Mm-hmm.
Slow burn heel turn for FTR is still underway. Maybe that's why they're not doing the thing with Cope, is because they wanted to turn heel more than they wanted to win the trios belts with Edge.
Maybe.
Like, I don't know.
Maybe.
Sorry, Cope. Don't mean to dead name you, sir. Uh, just have it.
His
Sorry,
shirt
I'm
says
working. I'm
Ledge
trying to be a better
in,
person.
so
Um, but overall it was a good night of Collision. Probably still better than Dynamite, but still kind of a weird night in several respects.
yeah.
Weird weirdness with squash matches, weirdness with where are we going with the story kind of deal. Some of it worked though. The weirdness of Mark Davis winning, that
Yeah.
worked. Something unexpected. Megan Bain looking like she's got beef with the entire division and it's going to take everybody to bring her down. That works. Um, a weird materializing of jobbers in the ring, uh, with us not seeing them, even though Kenny Omega was there 5 seconds ago. That didn't work. Um, Pairing the Outrunners with
Powerhouse.
Hobbs and 1 minute, and then Hobbs coming out and them not being with him the next minute didn't
Yeah.
work. Um, like just it was it was kind of a weird episode. Like I don't know, it was just kind of weird. It was mostly good, and it was bookended by two incredible matches, but like there was some weird stuff in the middle there. Like I don't know. Overall, I enjoyed it. It was weird though.
Yeah. Yeah, it was a little weird, but it was good. It was a good week for wrestling, despite the little bits of weirdness.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's kind of a it's the first week after a pay per view for AEW at least, so they're kind of rebuilding a little bit and starting some storylines and just getting started with others, and so you know you can't keep the momentum perfectly ascending without a little dip here and there. So it's just the nature of it.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was the week in wrestling. So you know what that means.
That means it's time to do like the pros do and call it in the ring.
All right, so for this week's Call in the Ring segment, with the talk of the Owen tournament like 2 months in advance, with just coming off, I mean, New Japan has their New Japan Cup tournament going on right now. Like it's just yeah, with the International Invitational tournament, it just seems like it's tournament season. It is March Madness, the whole deal. So we decided that maybe it was a good time for us to kind of reminisce on some of our favorite tournaments in wrestling history across the years.
Yep.
So, I mean, there have been a ton of them. So, like, the field is kind of wide open. Uh, but Aaron, did you want to go first, or do you want me to go first
Yeah.
here?
I mean, King of the Ring has always been one of my favorites. When they
Do you
were
have a
doing it,
particular one that you want to talk about?
97, of course. I mean, King of the Ring 97 gave us Stone Cold Steve Austin and the famous
Oh, it was
Austin. Oh, that was
96.
96. Sorry. Okay.
It was
96.
96. Yep.
But that gave us the famous Stone Cold Steve Austin and the 316 promo. Which basically, I mean, that promo alone, that like minute and a half that it is, built a movement that brought wrestling to the hottest period it had had in 3 decades. So, I mean, I mean, that King of the Ring, that one specifically a big one. But I mean, also, what was it, 2004 or 2005? We got King Booker.
2006.
Maybe later, maybe 2006.
I
Yeah,
think six. I
somewhere
think
in
it was
that area,
six.
mid aughts. We got
Yeah.
King Booker. Um,
That was the only tournament that was brand specific, I think,
yeah, I
to
think so.
SmackDown.
I think
Yeah.
so. And then since then we've had um King and Queen of the Ring, Kings and Queens of the Ring now. So so
Yeah.
they made that a women's tournament also. Um, I really like
Wish
it.
they would have crowned them in Saudi Arabia,
I
but
wish it would be a yearly pay per view tournament, like all the tournament in the one night again, like it was, back in the
in the
day.
early 90s, yeah.
Yeah, I really enjoyed it that way, and I think that's the way it should return to. Um, I like that. I like that they're still having it, but really, like, I mean, could you name this year's King and Queen of the Ring? Because I can't, unless they're counting
Gunter,
Gunter and Liv, or no, it would be
Liv?
Cody and
No,
Liv.
it wouldn't live. No,
Yeah.
no, no. Gunter won because that was what gave him the title shot.
Oh yeah, yeah. So yeah, okay, but yeah, I don't remember who the women's one was. Maybe it was Liv. Um.
No, because she would have had the belt
Oh.
by that point. She would have beaten Rhea already. Oh, it was Nia. It was Nia
Oh
Jax.
yeah. Okay, it was Naya. Yeah. So I mean, but see, like, it's kind of muddled up, like who is the king and queen in the ring. I mean, especially with Gunther being the champion and Nia not being the champion anymore. It's just I don't really want I don't want them to be rolling around in the crown all year playing the gimmick, because like ever since King Booker, like, can you really follow that? And the answer is no. Um,
No, the answer's no. Like, I mean, they tried to do it with, you know, uh, Wade Barrett. I mean, and he looked silly. They tried to do it with Sheamus, and he put his own spin on it with like the whole Celtic theme and everything with that crown and stuff. But like, it was, yeah, like I mean, probably the closest they came to duplicating something like King Booker and having it work was when William Regal won it a
yeah.
couple years later. And I mean, that's because it was William Regal.
Right.
Of course, why wouldn't it work? It's William Regal. He's already, first of all, he's already English. Plus, he had the character chops to make literally anything work.
Yeah.
So I mean, I'm so glad that he's getting his flowers, not just from his coworkers now, but from the fans in general, because like it's well deserved. He could do anything and would have benefited greatly from King of the Ring if he hadn't gotten himself suspended for a wellness policy violation that apparently was an accident. Like, so, but they never returned to it. They looked like they were really ramping up, and that he was going to be facing Triple H for the world title. And he was general manager of Raw at the time as well, so he had like unlimited power basically. He was turning off the lights and all this. It looked like they were really ramping up to something that could be really really fun and entertaining, and possibly give Regal the well deserved world title run.
Mm-hmm.
And then it just never happened. He got suspended for 30 days, and they did not renew his push when he came back. In fact, they barely even, uh, re, reminded you that he was King of the Ring.
Yeah.
Like it sucked.
Yeah.
Like a lot of this is follow through. Like we've had some weird bad Kings of the Ring.
Yeah.
Like Billy Gunn is a King of the Ring.
King Billy. God, King Ass.
Mabel was a
Mabel.
disaster.
King Mabel. Oh my god.
I mean, to be fair, that 1995 WWF
was kind of a
is
disaster.
pretty much the polar opposite of current day AEW in terms of talent depth roster depth.
Yeah.
Like it just didn't have anybody. They had Brett, they had Shawn, who was a mess, but neither one of them was the world champion because they wanted to push Diesel. Yeah. So like you had him face all these big guys who could barely move. They had him face Sid. They had him face Mabel. Like the only good matches that Diesel had as champion were against Bret Hart.
Yeah.
The only good matches that he had. Well, no, and the one against Shawn at WrestleMania, obviously. But like
that was all his
bookended
opponents.
It was never him. It was always he was only as good as his opponent allowed him to look.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I love the King of the Ring as a concept. I was a big fan of, especially like the times that they had through lines in the tournament, because a lot of times WWE, I love tournaments, but a lot of times they don't have like stories.
Yeah,
like, the tournament is the story for them. There are a whole bunch of matches that are in the tournament, and oh, that's enough story. But sometimes when they actually put in the effort, they're really really good. Like 1994, for example, when Brett won it for the second time.
Mm-hmm.
And that match, it was the first time it was on pay-per-view, and the whole tournament was on the show. I think the only other match that was on that show was the infamous match with Yoko and Hulk Hogan, where Yoko wins the belt back after a fireball
that went wrong
from a Japanese photographer's camera. Awful. But like the tournament itself was great. You had the former WWF champion who had not gotten a rematch. It didn't look like he was going to get a shot at Hogan, even at the beginning. This was basically his journey for a consolation prize. He wasn't going to be the WWF champion, so at least you could give him King of the Ring. So he faced 3 different opponents, completely different, all great matches. The match with Razor Ramon starts it out, and he wins like 3 different ways too. Like I don't think he made anybody tap out that entire time either. I think he rolled up or pinned like everybody. He beat Razor Ramon, then he beat Kurt Hennig in a rematch of their SummerSlam 92 Classic, or 91 Classic. And then he beats Bam Bam Bigelow with a victory roll in the finals after Bam Bam had gotten a bye earlier. So he was way fresher than Brett was. So, I love when tournaments have those stories like that. 2001 or 2002 rather is it 2002 is the same deal with Kurt Angle trying to repeat back-to-back years or to be the only other person to win it twice. So there's the thing with him and Shane where Shane helps him win in one of his matches, so that he has another match to go to tire him out before he faces Shane in the street fight.
Yeah.
He helps him win the first one, he screws him over in the other one, and then faces him in that infamous street fight, which was banging. To this day, it's amazing. It's brutal. It's glorious. Like, I like it when those tournaments actually have a little bit of storyline effort thrown into them.
Mm-hmm.
So like Edge winds up winning that tournament, but the story isn't about him. It's about Angle and how he's so good that he needed to be screwed over in order to prevent him from winning it twice. And yet he still gets revenge in the end from the people the guy who screwed him over, even though the guy who screwed him over was a babyface.
Yeah.
So like it was about basically the birth of Kurt Angle wrestling machine. Before that was essentially his gimmick.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, you want to talk about you know, uh, tournaments with stories. Continental Classic.
Oh man,
That's where you gotta go. Especially the first one with Eddie Kingston.
Oh yeah,
God, like just losing the first two matches, coming back from behind, beating Bryan Danielson to win his league, and finally win the man's respect after years and years of being, told that he was a scrub, and then facing his best friend Moxley for the belt, who wasn't going to give him any kind of pause or any kind of uh, any kind of, I don't know. He wasn't going to take it easy on him at all.
Yeah, no
Leeway is a good word. Yeah, and Mox still loses clean to him and hugs him afterwards. Like, and he gets to be the Triple Crown champion because he's such an All Japan mark. Like, Tony basically gifted him this specifically so that he could call him a Triple Crown champion, like the winner of the world title of All Japan is. Like, that's a great story.
Yeah.
That's a great story. I was so excited when Kingston won. I was so happy for him. I was over the moon.
Yeah, I was still at the time, well, at the beginning of the tournament, kind of iffy on Eddie. But that was kind of my turning point with him, was winning that tournament. I was like, at the beginning, I was like, I don't think he should win this tournament. And then as they played it out, I was like, Triple Crown Championship. I mean, that'd be interesting. But not Eddie. And then I was like, oh, Eddie and Bryan Danielson for respect. Oh, okay. It'll be a good match. Eddie will get his respect, but not Eddie.
Yeah.
And then Eddie won, and I was like, oh, okay, Eddie versus Mox. I mean, Eddie will get respect out of it, but Mox is gonna beat his ass. And then Eddie won, and I was like, you know what? Okay, I'm a believer. And maybe he kind of deserves this for having to be like the sacrificial lamb on that shit ass fucking exploding ring death match. Like, I mean, y'all had to, Eddie had to look like an absolute idiot for like 10 whole minutes on pay-per-view. So, was this an appropriate way to say, hey, thanks for doing that? Yeah, I think this was an appropriate thank you for that. So, like I had a multiple reasons to be like, all right, this was the right choice. But yeah, that's kind of where I turned around on Eddie, because before I was like, why is 40-year-old chubby Uncle Rico scary to people? Why is this guy who they picked up off a stoop in New York on like 55th Street drunk as shit, like, and gave him a mic? Like, who is this old dude? Like, this guy's my age. What is he doing fighting with like Orange Cassidy and shit? Like, I know Daniel Bryan's also like my age, but he's one of the greatest of all time. Like, who is this old dude? And then I was like, okay.
Dude can talk.
He can talk. He's angry a lot for no reason. Constantly working on his own mental health and talking about it. And despite being in a group of top tier athletes spends more time in catering than the gym. Eddie is me. I am Eddie. And now I'm an Eddie fan.
Yeah.
And that's just what it is, man. Like,
Yeah.
he's
That's
so
the
much
power of
like
a
me.
story. That's the power of a story. And a tournament has the capacity to do. And that's not even getting into the other stories that tournament told. Like, what about Danny Garcia?
Oh man, dude.
Like, because he was getting so close, it was just getting pinned and pinned and pinned, and then the final match, he just plays spoiler and gets that win out of nowhere over Brody, and just like, oh, he did it, he got the one, and that was really a springboard for him. You know, it was just one win, it was just one.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, it was long after he could have done anything with that win in the tournament. But like that really set him up for success, and you know, a year later he's TNT champion.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah. And may win that tournament in the future at some point. Like, very good chance Daniel Garcia wins it one year.
I think it's a pretty safe bet.
Probably safe bet. Yeah, I mean, within the next 10, yeah, I'd say that's probably a safe bet. Like, if we had to pick 10 winners from right now, Daniel Garcia could definitely be on that list. And I don't feel like Tony is gonna have somebody win. Like, I don't think anybody's gonna win it twice in a row or twice without it being like a really big deal. You know, that somebody won this particular tournament twice, because Eddie won it and then Okada won it. And then, like, I mean, that's already a pretty high level of winner, you know.
You could make the case that you could have Okada win it again, because even though they kept saying, you know, he's the greatest tournament wrestler of all time, he only tied that record that they kept talking about. They could have him break it. But they were all. I don't think they will, because they already have decided that they were calling him the greatest tournament wrestler of all time.
Yeah.
Even with a tie.
I mean,
so I don't think it's gonna happen with him.
I mean, Okada, like, I feel like the C2 is a good place to like I get Okada winning it because he was already the Continental Champion, and I know, like, I just feel in my bones that we're barreling towards Omega Okada at All In for the
I think
for the Intercontinental title,
now.
or whatever they're going to call the matchup. If it's still just probably going to be the international title, and they're just going to add.
I think they'll just merge it with the international title, and then they'll still have the tournament.
Yeah,
but they'll do something different.
But yeah, they'll do something like a title shot or something. They'll do something different with it.
Yeah.
But like, I feel like that's what we're barreling. And so Okada's not gonna like lose that title anytime soon, but but at the next Continental Classic, there's not gonna be a Continental Champion. I don't think Okada Okada was made before he came to AEW. I mean, that he's like if we're talking, if we want to do this in mob terms, he was a made man before he got here to this family.
Yeah.
Oh,
for sure.
But the Continental Classic was a good way to make him for AEW fans and casuals in AEW.
Especially since
there's a lot of us who don't watch
the Young Bucks in the background either.
Yeah, there's a lot of us who don't do that, who don't like I don't watch a lot of New Japan. Okay, like I had seen like 3 Okada matches total before he showed up in AEW.
And they were all with Kenny.
And they were all with Kenny Omega. Yes, exactly. I didn't see any of his like G1.
Because if you were going to watch 3 Okada matches from New Japan, they were going to be the Kenny Omega.
Well, I'm pretty sure they were in successive like New Japan shows that I was somehow roped into watching, like consecutive Wrestle Kingdoms. Because that's the one show that I'll check out every year at you know, like it's New Year's Day. I'm hung the fuck over. I don't know what to do with myself. Hey, there's like 7 hours of wrestling on. Let's go check it out. And maybe I'll see some good shit. Like this year, I saw Kenny Omega and Gabe Kidd. It was fantastic. I wish I could have just known that like I needed to come at the like 7th hour and watch that match instead of sitting through the rest of it, because the rest of it was kind of garbo. But yeah, like that's the one time a year I pay attention to New Japan, and it's usually because like, oh, who's Omega fighting at Wrestle Kingdom this year? You know, like, and for like 3 years there, it was like Okada. And so that's the matches of his that I saw before he showed up in AEW. And honestly, that was all the Omega matches I saw before I started watching AEW. Like I didn't watch Kenny Omega wrestle a lot. I was just like, hey, these two guys are fucking badasses. And then they were like, hey, we're doing an American promotion, and that Kenny Omega dude's gonna be it. Cool, I'm watching.
Yeah.
And then I got kind of bored of it. But after the first show, I was like, oh, Joey Ryan's on here. I really don't like Joey Ryan, man. Like, fuck that guy. And this was before he was outed as like.
I mean, he was very brief.
I just didn't like the character in the first place, and I didn't like.
See, I liked Joey Ryan. It made me really sad that he turned out to be a creeper.
It wasn't surprising though, not at all.
No, but I wanted it to be a character. I didn't want it to be.
I'm just like, man, poor Mick Foley had to touch your dick, like, because he did. Mick Foley did take a dick
where Allison Kay did a really cool thing with it, where they talked. They had like a 20-second diatribe about the nature of consent, which in retrospect is really ironic. But then he goes like, okay. Would you like to touch it? Yes, I would. And then they just spot anyway. But I mean, Allison Kay is top shelf.
Yeah.
If you're not following Allison Kay on social media, you really should. She's fantastic. She's top shelf.
But yeah, but like the character just bothered me. So like watching that first All In, I was like, God, I hate this guy. And
they're the only kind of druids that I like, though.
And then the dick druids. But then like they did that ending thing with the Dark Order that just confused the shit out of me because I was like, I don't know who any of these people are. Like, I'm a casual, man. Like I had no idea who these guys were. But then I came back to watch, when Punk came around, and I've been watching since Punk came back. Even through him leaving and all that, I was like, I'll keep watching AEW because I like it. But the C2 was a good way to like show me like why is Okada a big deal? Okay, here's why.
Yeah.
So I think like if we're gonna keep bringing people in, like this year's C2, if they're gonna court him and they're gonna get him, if they court him enough, like this would be a great opportunity to like do the same thing with like Hechicero.
Yeah,
or something like that.
I think they're really courting him. I think that this C2 would be an excellent way to showcase him.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
If you want to showcase someone's pure wrestling skill, the C2 is a great way to get it done.
There's one more tournament that I want to talk about specifically. Like it doesn't need to be the last one we talk about. There is one that I wanted to talk about specifically, and that is Survivor Series 1998.
Ooh.
Deadly Game Tournament.
Oh man,
this was interesting because honestly, it's Attitude Era stuff. So like, you go to the Wikipedia page and you look at the timestamps. A lot of these matches are sub 5 minutes, and some of them have like storyline reasons for them, and others don't. But like the lengthy matches of any substance aren't really until like even the semifinals are like 10 minutes long, each one. But this is a match card that has 18 matches on it. One of them was a dark match.
Oh,
3 of them were on Heat, I think. But, all told, that's a lot of matches on a single card. The beauty of this was, again, the through line. Because you had Vince McMahon seemingly picking out his favorite in Mankind and doing everything he could to kind of streamline his way to the finals. And then you have both Stone Cold and The Rock kind of, getting there despite McMahon, the whole way. And it takes a crooked Shane McMahon turning heel as the referee on Stone Cold to screw him out of it and get Mankind in the finals. So by the time you get the finals, you got the corporate picked one and Mankind versus the fan favorite. Now that Stone Cold's out of the picture, they definitely want The Rock to be champion. And then they do the screw job finish, and it was a plan by the McMahons all along to get The Rock in there, and it was just so well executed that you can barely believe that Vince Russo actually coordinated the whole thing, but it really is his magnum opus.
Yeah.
Like if you can only point to one thing that he did well, and you probably only can point to one thing that he did well, this is it. Like this is, as far as telling the story of how to get to the promised lands in one night. And the honestly, I hated at the time, but the sheer balls that they had 1 year removed from the Montreal Screwjob to ape it for the finish of this card. Holy cow.
Like,
you want to talk about attitude? That typified it right there. Like completely encapsulated it. This was as weird as it is to say this, because it is very attitudey. It's very short, punch kick a palooza kind of thing. Get the match done in under 5 minutes and move on. But a lot of it is anyway. But yeah, like it's kind of beautiful in its own way.
Yeah.
Because of the not only where it leads, but the routes that it takes to get there. Like it's really well written, especially for anybody, but especially for Vince Russo.
Yeah, that one was. I mean, the finish, like, man, that, like, you're not screw job finishing this. Like, this isn't happening again. And then you're at our age, I mean, at the time, I was eating that shit up. I was like, oh no, this isn't happening for real again. Oh my god, no. And then,
yeah,
like,
I was so upset.
Like they played us so hard. I was like, ah,
it got me.
It
got me.
Yeah,
I love it.
Yeah, I loved it. It was great. It was great. Man, recency bias is probably where this, but I can't. Is it recency bias if it resulted in one of the greatest storylines in wrestling history? Because I think you know where I might be going with this, but I mean we would be doing a disservice to tournaments if we're not talking about the Owen, because the Owen gave us the turn, and the turn gave us the end. And my God, if that doesn't make the Owen a significant tournament in wrestling history.
Yeah.
Because I
think you have to.
Yeah. I mean, first of all, it's named after somebody who is significant in wrestling history. Owen Hart was one of the greatest technicians to step foot in between the ropes of all time.
And a King of the Ring winner.
Yeah, so this fits right with our tournament thoughts. But on top of that, his name is born on a women's and men's tournament that, okay, we're not treating this on a wrestling level the way we treat the Continental Classic. It's not the same type of tournament.
Well, for one thing, it's single elimination instead of round robin.
Yeah, it's single elimination instead of round robin. I think, really, the Continental Classic is for the wrestlers, and the Owen is for the storylines.
Yeah.
And the Owen did bear us a significant point in one of the, I mean, we're talking like Mount Rushmore of wrestling storyline, but probably, absolutely, I don't think it's even a hot take that this is the best women's storyline that ever.
Yeah, that's
I don't think that's up for debate at all.
That take is cooler than being cool.
Yeah, Tony and Mariah is the best women's storyline ever, and it is easily on the Mount Rushmore of greatest wrestling storylines of all time. That's top 4, okay? It's just what it is.
Amazing. From top to bottom.
Yeah.
End to end.
Yeah, and the most significant part of that, the part that we were all bated breath, like we knew this was coming. Like we knew it was coming. But they were, just running with them being on the same team for a little while, and we were cool with it. But nobody, we knew it was coming, but by God, I don't think anyone expected her to grab that Owen title belt up and turn around and smack Tony in the face with it immediately. Yeah.
She did it so fast, it was not even possible to respond quickly enough.
No.
It was a true blindside attack. Yes. Not just on Tony Storm, but on us.
All of us. Yes. Everybody was shocked because of the way it was done. We knew it was coming. And we were still shocked with the unpredictability and the pure brutality of the attack that followed.
Shoot.
I mean, we got the shoe. This is where the shoe got the blood on it. I mean,
Yep.
that played all the way into last Sunday. Like,
Yeah.
and this was like a year and a half or 2 years ago. Like, this was like, this is, I mean, we have to talk about the Owen like this because
Yeah.
What possible, like, amazing storylines is it going to bear for us now? I mean, what's next? How do you follow that? Like,
maybe Will Ospreay heading into World Championship territory. You don't know. I don't know.
I hope so. I think the crowd response when Will Ospreay said he wanted to be the guy that was trusted with this company, I think the crowd response said it all, which is we trust you with this company.
Oh yeah.
Please, by God, put the belt on this man immediately. I think that's kind of what everybody wants, but we're definitely going to get it at All In. I think if we're going to get it this year, it has to be at All In if it's this year. It probably has to be at All In even if it's next year. Like this can't be a secondary All Out thing. This has to be at the big one.
Yeah.
Yeah. Though, I don't know. I think this year. But I also we talked about all that stuff getting thrown into the wrench, into the gears.
Yeah.
Of this title scene, but
how many red herrings are we being
there's
thrown right now?
A whole
we don't know.
Well, there's a whole log of pure stainless steel hanging by a thread over that gear that already has all that other shit in it, and its name is Darby Allin.
Yeah.
And so it's just.
And what's interesting there too is that if you remember, Darby Allin is undefeated against Will Ospreay, at least in AEW. I don't know where else they may have faced each other, but Darby came up on Ospreay in the Continental Classic this year.
Yeah,
in their one match.
Yeah.
So that was big for Darby in terms of establishing himself as oh, this is a guy who could be the guy.
Mm-hmm.
So.
But see, my thing though is for these tournaments, especially for the Owen, the Owen is going to end in a title shot. Somebody's going to get a world title shot off the Owen, but okay, Cope has a claim to his title shot that he's getting, I guess, Wednesday. Swerve is the number one contender. He has a claim to a title shot. But Darby, Will, Kenny, even Max, Hangman, and anybody else that we mentioned in this list of people tonight, none of them have a real claim. Will Ospreay, none of them have this real claim to a title shot. So they can call their shot all they want, but they're going to have to earn a title shot somehow. So any of those or all of those could be in the next Continental Classic to get a title shot since they're going to merge the titles. Or could be in the Owen to get a title shot, or could be in the, all of these guys could potentially be in the next Casino Gauntlet match. There's a few different ways to get a title shot in AEW, and potentially all of those people that we have mentioned tonight could be in all of those things.
It could be, if we're talking about All In, because that does seem like the most logical place to switch the belt. Do it on the biggest stage in front of the biggest crowd they're going to have all year. It makes sense that we could be looking at the most star-studded pick'em Owen Hart tournament they've yet had.
Yeah.
Assuming that Mox retains throughout the whole thing, you put Darby in there, you put Ospreay in there, you put Hanger in there, you put MJF in there, you put probably all of his previous challengers too, Cope and You put maybe Samoa Joe in there. You
Mm-hmm.
put Swerve back in there. Like that's 7 right there. All
Jericho loses
like
the ROH title and he wants to be the Diaz.
the DAs. Like that's like all former champions. Like
Yeah.
or really good potential. Or put Omega in there.
Yeah.
I mean, well,
That's
probably not
that's
because
an
he's going to be
entire
working
field
the
of
belt.
former world
But like
champions.
that's jeez Louise. Like
Yeah.
I mean, murderer's row
Like,
right
can
there.
you predict that tournament? Because I can't even predict a single match in that tournament. Like, I could give you justifications for
Oh,
why either guy could win any of those matches. That's that is it. See, right that right there, that type of thing, that's a promoter's dream. To be
yeah.
that.
When you have those are the kind of tough decisions that those are the problems you want to have.
Yeah, this is the exact opposite of Cena wins LOL.
Yeah, this
Because we
is
have
a who wins
no fucking
LOL.
idea. Yeah, like who wins LOL? Like, because it literally could be any of those guys. So
And you have like 2 months or so to build up all of those guys even further to make it look like any one of them could win this tournament.
yeah,
Like that's I mean this we are looking at this is just potential we're talking about. This is fantasy booking. This is not us giving our hopes up.
yeah,
Okay, this is not us predicting anything. This is not saying that we have any inside info. We're just looking at what's on the table and the potential thereof. This could be. You know, AEW has gotten some of its momentum back, a lot of its momentum back. In fact, since they got the Max deal, really, since they announced the Max deal, then they had the great C2 Part 2 tournament. They had one of the best pay-per-views they've ever put on in Revolution. They've switched to smaller buildings to highlight how hot the crowds are. They've had some of the best storylines in wrestling history. They've had some of the hottest angles that they've ever had.
mm-hmm.
You add this on top of this, you could be looking at just a complete return to form creatively for AEW if they book this tournament right
yeah,
and book it all the way to All In. Like it really, really. If it, I hope he doesn't get bogged down with Fulham FC stuff and Jacksonville Jaguars stuff because I want all of Tony Khan's focus on this Owen tournament leading up to All In and getting it right
mm-hmm.
because there is such potential here to make this year AEW's best in like 3 years.
yeah,
Like there's a ton of exciting potential that can be made out of a tournament.
yeah.
One of my favorite things in wrestling, a tournament.
Man, we're tournament marks around here, aren't we, man?
Oh, absolutely.
Like, I'm a mark for a good
I
tournament.
love tournaments.
Love them.
Love them.
Love them.
But I think probably that's as good a note to end on as any. Yeah,
I think so. So yeah, everybody, that was it for the week. Make sure you join us next week. We're coming out every Monday before Raw at our new home at Podbean and on all of our other streaming services that we've always mentioned before. Take care of yourself out there. Keep your head up, and we love you.
All right. Love you guys. Peace.
Peace.